Hello, hello, and brought to you via St. Louis, Missouri, this is Bombers Game Mike. I'm Paul D, and tonight your Redbirds are taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates in downtown St. Louis. And on the bump for the Redbirds is the left-hander Matt Liberatore. For the Buccos is the right-hander Mitch Keller. And stepping onto the mound for his warm-ups here down at Busch Stadium. So far through 9 starts, 2-2 with a 4.40 ERA, 18 walks, 34 strikeouts, a 1.51 whip on the year. 3 of those 9 starts have been quality. And last time was not altogether, at least what I consider to be one of them. I get it that it's an official stat, but that's a different story for a different time. Whatever the case may be, we are just about ready here for Cardinal baseball. And leading it off for the Pirates here tonight is the third baseman Gonzalez, followed by the shortstop, the standout prospect, Connor Griffin. Then in the 3-hole is Reynolds in left, Ozuna at DH cleaning up there. Cruz is the center fielder batting 5th. Garcia is in right batting 6th. Lowe at second is batting 7th. Triolo at first, he's batting 8th, and Davis, the catcher, behind the dish, he is batting 9 tonight. And it is kind of what you would expect for at least the time being for a Tuesday night game heading into late May down at Busch Stadium. Because for most of the day, especially if you are here and you're from the area, you know that it's been raining most of today. And it looked like there might have been a question as to whether they would be able to start this game on time. But as far as we can tell, that doesn't seem to be an issue. The field looks beautiful. Liberatore, the lefty, he's on the mound. And we await here the first pitch. It's a lefty-righty matchup here to the leadoff man, Gonzalez. From the full winds, Liberatore, the pitch. Downstairs for a ball. The count is 1-0. That was a 4-seam fastball about chin high over the plate. And yes, once again, Tarps Off is back in the ballpark. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Hit on out there to right field, going towards the line is Walker in front of the stands, and it goes about a row or 2 deep. And that'll be the first strike of the at-bat. So we are now underway at Busch Stadium. Nobody on, nobody out, no score. And there are plenty of people without a shirt on at Busch Stadium tonight. They are the super fans. Gonzalez is here, the righty. He's hitting .318 on the campaign. And it looks like Mason Wynn, he's back out there at short. From the full wind, here's the 1-1. Chop foul and off his feet on a cutter away. And the count's now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Good evening from Vermont, and it is wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. Indeed. Now, here's Nick Gonzalez, the third baseman, .318, no home runs, 19 RBIs. Thank you so much for chiming in. It is a 1-2 count. Now, here's the 1-2. Swinging strike 3. Down he goes for the first out of the inning here in the top of the first. Yes, absolutely. If you're just joining me here early on, follow the lead from Vermont, setting the pace. Let me know where you are watching or listening from tonight for this Pirates v. Cardinal matchup. Now, here's the 2-hitter, the shortstop, Connor Griffin. Here's the pitch. Hit to the left side and fielded up by the third baseman. Throws to first in time for the second out of the inning. So it was a ground ball out there to left. Quite solid and not too difficult a play. And that's definitely the second out of the inning. And Gorman definitely showing some athleticism on that play, to be sure. Church is out in left. Victor Scott in center. Walker in right. Gorman at third. Prieto at short. Weatherhull at second. Alec Burleson is at first. Now here's the pitch. Just inside, a curveball down and in and out of the zone on a curveball. And indeed, correction on my part, Mason Wynn is not in the field starting tonight. Prieto is out there, at least defensively, at short. Liberatore, he looks in for the sign. Lefty-righty matchup. Now here's the 1-0. just downstairs and away on a changeup. That'll bring the counts to 2 balls and no strikes. And, of course, now behind the dish tonight for the Cardinals is Pajes. Now, here's the 2-0. Swinging strike, cutter down and in, right around the knees, and the count is 2-0. Hey, THE Philly, my guy. Reynolds, 253, 4 home runs, 26 RBIs through 47 games. He's out and left tonight for the Buccos. How are things in Uganda at what I imagine is, early morning at this point? Now, here's the 2-1. Hit on out there down the right field line. Gibbon chases Burleson near the tarp, and it goes about 3 or 4 rows deep. And the count evens out at 2-2. Where is everybody? Well, I hope they're going to be showing up here soon enough or at some point in this game. We got some Cardinal baseball to enjoy here tonight. Liberatore, he's on the bump. He is in the count 2-2. Nobody on, 2 out, top of the first inning. From the full wind, here's the pitch. Swinging strike 3, down goes Reynolds for the third and final out of the inning. 1, 2, 3, go the Buccos, and we head to the bottom of the first. It is Pittsburgh nothing, and the St. Louis Cardinals coming to bat. I'm Paul D. Thank you all so much for joining me here for this Tuesday night Cardinal edition of baseball, and you are watching and listening to Bombers Game Mike. Oh, did it now? How is the weather this time of year where you are in Uganda? I'd be interested to know that. I'd be very interested to know that. So, just showing up here. 1, 2, 3 went Pittsburgh in the top half of the frame in the first. Liberatore does seem to have plus stuff here so far. Well, I'm glad you love it, as I recall. Oh, that is a good reason to love it, my friend. Now, as I recall, you're not from there originally. You moved there following retirement. And just overall, though, I mean, I'm curious what day-to-day life is like in your neck of the woods. I'd be curious to find out over time here. So we await the bottom of the first inning. And while we're doing that, let me give you the Cards lineup. J.J. Weatherholt, he's leading off, batting 2. Herrera, he's at DH. Burleson, the first baseman, batting 3rd. Jordan Walker in right, batting cleanup. Gorman at 3rd, batting 5th. Nate Church out in left, he's batting 6th. Prieto, the shortstop, he's batting 7th. Pajes, the catcher, he's batting 8th. And Victor Scott, the second, in center field, is batting 9th. Now here's J.J. Weatherholt, the left-hander. Now here's Mitch Keller, 4-2 with a 3.59, 15 walks, 38 strikeouts, a 1.08 whip through 9 starts. He's coming off a rather rough outing last time around against Colorado. Here's the pitch. Out and away, nowhere near the zone with that sinker. Count is 1-0 to the Cardinal second baseman. So I have not checked yet in terms of what's happening with wind. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side and foul. Just kind of weakly tapped down the first base line. That's another good reason to love it, my friend, no doubt. I'm sure it can allow you to live very well. Now, here's the 1-1 pitch. Down and in, a changeup, nowhere near the zone to the lefty Weatherholt. And the count is 2 balls, 1 strike. 233, 8 home runs, 22 RBIs, and 45 games this year for Weatherholt. Here's the 2-1. Foul back behind the plate and out of play on a 4-seam fastball. Down and away at 94 miles per hour. And the count is 2-2 to JJ. And what a night here. Not only did it rain there, but it also rained here. Here's the pitch. Down and in, a slider, nowhere near the zone, 89 miles an hour, and that'll bring the count full, 3-2. But as I was saying, Keller last time out, 5 1/3, gave up 6 earned runs to Colorado, who at present has the second worst record in Major League Baseball. Here's the pitch. Hit on out there to left center field, giving chase to the left fielder. He's in front of it, and did he trap it? And it seems that Reynolds has made the catch for the first out of the inning. It was close on that. He had a very awkward slide where he couldn't decide whether he wanted to slide feet first or head first, and he was just head first, and he caught it and snow-coned it. Reynolds is out and left for the Buccos. O'Neill Cruz in center. Garcia in right. Gonzalez at third. Griffin at short. Lowe at second. Triolo at first. Davis behind the plate. And Mitch Keller on the bump for the Buccos. So one out here in the bottom of the first inning. Now here is Ivan Herrera. Here's the pitch. Hit to the left side and foul. Just rolling to the foul side of third base. And the count is no balls and 1 strike. 46 games, 265, 4 home runs, 20 RBIs, and 801 OPS for Ivan Herrera. Here's the 0-1. Strike, 4-seam fastball just on the inside corner below the belt. And that'll bring the count to 0-2. It's a righty-righty matchup. Now, from the full wind, Keller deals. Sweeper well out and away, floating over the lefty batter's box, nowhere close to the zone. The count's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Let me know where you're watching from right now. Where are you joining Bombers Game Mike for this edition of Cardinal Baseball? Here's the pitch. Foul straight back to the netting behind home plate on a 4-seam fastball up and in, mid-90s. The count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. From the full wind, Keller seems to have his sign. Now here's the 1-2. Sweeper once again over that lefty batter's box, nowhere close to the zone. Leaving out the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. So not much action and by way of base runners so far yet here in this game. Herrera with that big open righty stance. He's back in the box. From the full winds, Keller. Here's the 2-2. Swinging strike on a cutter up and in for the second out of the inning. So save those 2 sweepers that swept and just kept sweeping. He has looked pretty good here so far. Looking to dust off some of that from his dud of an outing last time against the Rockies. Now here's Burleson. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side and chop foul down the first base side and out of play. The count's 0-1. Burleson, of course, the lefty, hitting .277 so far in 2026. 6 home runs, 33 RBIs through 45 games. He has a .781 OPS. Here's the 0-1. Swinging strike on a curveball down and away. Swung right over the top of that, missed it by at least a couple inches. And the count is no balls and 2 strikes. Nobody on, 2 out, bottom of the first inning. There is no score. The infield defense for the Pirates is shaded well over towards right field. Here's the 0-2. Changeup down and away, just missed off the plate. And the count is now 1 ball and 2 strikes. And at this point, the Cardinals have not scored since Saturday. From the full wind, and Keller deals. Swinging strike on the changeup down and in, and they are signaling a foul ball. Apparently he got a piece of that one. Emphatically showing it late was the home plate umpire after Burleson looked back at him and basically said, "Hey, Blue, I got a piece of that." And we've seen it here on the replay. Just barely. Let's put it this way. You needed to hear it, I think. That's how much it is. So it's a 1 ball, 2 strike count. Nobody on, 2 out here in the bottom of the first inning. There is no score. Keller winds and deals. Hit down the first base side and out of play. And the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes to the big lefty Cardinal first baseman. Keller's back on the box. Back on the bump. He has the sign. Now here's the 1-2 pitch. Chopped to the third baseman. He fields on a pair of hops. He throws to first in time to get Burleson by about a step. 1, 2, 3, go the Redbirds. And we head to the top of the second inning. No score at Busch Stadium. This is a Tuesday night edition of Redbird Baseball. I'm Paul D, and thank you so much for joining me here tonight for Buccos v. Redbirds. If this is your first time, pleasure making your acquaintance. Let me know where you're watching or listening from in the chat. And I hope you have much to cheer about in this game. And for everybody else who's come, that is a returning viewer, thank you. It's great to have you back. And you are watching and listening to Bombers Game Mike. Now, something I'm curious about, and if anybody has word on this, it would really quite help me out if you could leave it in the chat. What exactly is the status of Mason Wynn at the moment? That's something I think all of us not only would like to know, but I think in all fairness need to know. Anyway, so we await the top of the second inning. Both Liberatore and Keller seem to have their A game tonight. That much is certain. And let's see if Liberatore can keep it up. Because last time out in Sacramento, I believe it was on the Wednesday night, he wasn't great. I think it's fair to say that the Redbirds expect more of him and, frankly, need more of him. So this is definitely an opportunity for him to pick him up on his end. He only gets a chance once every 5 days. And we wait to get to the middle of this Buccos lineup. We are back for the top of the second inning. No score. Ozuna is due up, followed by Cruz and Garcia. And now he winds and deals. Strike, four-seam fastball, outside corner, about thigh high to the righty Ozuna. Count is 0-1, 182, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs through 39 games is the DH Ozuna tonight. Now here's the 0-1. Check swing on a cutter inside. Did he go? Yes, says Blue down the first baseline. And that'll bring the count to no balls and 2 strikes. So, Liberatore has Ozuna right where he wants him. He has his sign, the southpaw. He winds and deals. Curveball down and in the dirt to the righty Ozuna. The count is 1-2. Ozuna not giving chase on that pitch that just the previous inning, the front three most certainly did. Liberatore has the sign. Now, here's the 1-2. Upstairs, four-seam fastball, 96 miles an hour. Letter high over the plate, but definitely a ball. And count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. No score in the top of the second down at Busch Stadium. Now, here's the 2-2 pitch. Swinging strike 3 on the slider, down and in for the first out of the inning. Liberatore has got his strikeout pitch going. He's been showing some real flashes of greatness there with both a cutter slider down and in on the righties and even occasionally the breaking ball, which he also tried in Ozuna, but he wasn't having it. 1 on, nobody out. Here's the lefty O'Neill Cruz in the 5 spot. Here's the pitch. Up and away, four-seam fastball, 95 miles an hour, nowhere clear near the zone. The count is 1 ball, no strikes. 259 on this campaign for the center fielder, O'Neill Cruz. Now here's the 1-0. Strike, sinker on the outer third at the knees, and the count is 1-1. 253, 10 home runs, 32 RBIs through 45 games. That is a very good year for the Pittsburgh center fielder. Here's the pitch. Strike, swinging right over the top of that slider, down and away. Easily swung about an inch over the thing. Darting down and away from the lefty Cruz, and the count is now 1 ball and 2 strikes. The infield's playing slightly towards right field. Outfield seems largely straight away. It is a lefty-lefty matchup from the full wind. Here's a 1-2. Slider down and away out of the zone. Trying to see if Cruz would give chase to that one. And the count is now 2-2. So it is definitely a muggy day out there right now, to be sure. Here's a 2-2. Slider just low on the inner third, right below the knees, and that'll bring the count to 3 balls and 2 strikes. That was the 20th pitch of the outing here so far for Liberatore. Now, here's the 3-2 pitch. Looking, strike 3. Got him in the observatory for the second out of the inning. So far, like I said, Liberatore, he's got his strikeout pitch going. That was his 4th punch out here tonight. All right, now here comes Garcia. 2 on, nobody out. Liberatore deals. Strike, curveball, inside corner at the knees to the righty Garcia. Count is 0-1. Garcia this is his first game this year. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike on a changeup down and away to the righty. And the count is now no balls and 2 strikes. So Liberatore has Garcia in the hole here. He's from the full wind. And he deals up and away, four-seam fastball, 96 miles an hour, head high and on the outer half of the plate. And the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. Any way you put it, he's 1 strike away from sending this thing to the bottom of the second. He comes to the wind. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Check swing on the curveball down and in. Did he go? Yes, says home plate umpire for the 3rd out of the inning. They don't just go 1, 2, 3. He gets them all by way of strikeouts. We head to the bottom of the 2nd inning. There is no score down at Busch Stadium. I'm Paul D. Tuesday Night Cardinal Baseball, and this is Bombers Game Mike. Well, right now, he is definitely showing stuff. He is showing stuff, and it is beautiful to see. Now, the Cardinals need to do something they haven't done since Saturday, which is for a runner to cross home plate. Not trying to sound any alarm bells here, but it's something that's got to happen. If you're just joining me here, let me know where you're watching or listening from in the chat. And right now, of course, in the case of the Buccos, they've gone down in order through the first 2. I'm not saying the thing. I shouldn't have to say the thing. You know the thing. But here's the real question. What do you see Liberatore's line being here in this game? You already got 2 innings out of the way, so let me know in the chat. I want to find out. And once again, let me know where you're watching or listening from. It's always great for somebody that's just joining us for the first time, or if you've been quietly joining us for over a week now. Make yourself known. We're all friends here. We're all friends here. So we await the bottom of the 2nd inning for the Cardinals, where we're going to have Jordan Walker followed by Gorman and then good old Nate Church. So a decent recipe, potentially, to get a little something going offensively here tonight, and not a moment too soon. Not a moment too soon. And once again, that tarps off crowd, they're back out there. Now here's the pitch. Foul back behind the plate and out of play. And the count is no balls and 1 strike. And here's another in-game interview with Ollie Marmol that no one's interested in. Jordan Walker, he's batting .301 on the campaign, and he's hitting cleanup tonight. Here's the pitch. Strike, slider, outside corner at the knees. And the home plate umpire definitely takes his time in signaling strike. And nor is he that emphatic about it, which makes things interesting. Certainly for somebody in my position. Though everybody that's involved in the game, and the ones that matter most, pitcher, catcher, batter, they know before we do. No doubt. It's an 0-2 count here to Jordan Walker. Keller, he winds and deals. Sweeper down and away out of the zone, brings the count to 1-2. It's a righty-righty matchup. Jordan Walker, 301, 13 home runs, 34 RBIs through 45 games. He's out and right. Here's the 1-2. Chopped down out to shortstop, fielded there by Griffin. He throws to first in time, and Walker nearly beat the throw. I think he basically got there. Oh, I think the throw got there maybe a step ahead of him. So that'll be the first out here in the bottom of the second. And we're seeing it here on the replay. And yeah, about a quarter step. 23 years old. That guy's got some serious athleticism. Now here's the first pitch to Gorman. Foul back behind the plate and out of play. The count is 0-1. It was a changeup down and away from Keller. It's a righty-lefty matchup. The righty Keller to the lefty Gorman, who's down at third tonight. Now Keller winds and deals. Hit on out there to right field. About 6 feet in front of the track. Fielder's underneath that. He makes the catch for the second out of the inning. So 2 quick outs here for Keller. And thus far, Keller and Liberatore are matching each other pitch for pitch. It could be one of those nights. Nobody on, 2 out here. And now here is the lefty Nate Church, who's out in left tonight. Here's the pitch. He shows bunt, and he puts it down the third baseline, and it rolls foul. So that will be the first strike. Had it stayed fair, however, Church ultimately got everybody on their heels. He most certainly would have ended up at first had it stayed fair. But the surprise is lost now. So you can't necessarily ambush them. Church, he's hitting .246 on the 2026 campaign. It is an 0-1 count. A righty-lefty matchup. As we await the pitch. Lord knows why it's taking quite so long at the moment. Basically, because the broadcast won't focus on the at-bat. Here's the pitch. Changeup down and away. Foul tip by Church. And it looked like it got a piece of the home plate umpire there. He seems otherwise fine. And yeah, there's the shortstop, their big prospect, Connor Griffin. They basically threw him a citywide party in Pittsburgh when he debuted, about a month ago now. It's an 0-2 count to Nate Church. Nobody on, 2 out, no score in the bottom of the second inning. And we wait. You know, there is a pitch clock, guys. Last time I checked. Back on the bump is Keller. He has the 0-2 count. He has the sign. He winds and deals. Swinging strike 3 on a changeup down and away. And that will do it. 1, 2, 3 go the Redbirds here in the bottom of the second inning. And we go to the top of the third. No score on the banks of the mighty Mississippi. I'm Paul D. And this is Bombers Game Mic. So they seem to be matching each other pitch for pitch. That's just swell. One moment. Tums, folks. Well, not Tums, some tablet. Antacid. I had a hot dog earlier today that is not sitting all that great with me at the moment. Not fun. Not fun. So, we await the top of the third inning. There is no score down at Busch Stadium. And we are back here for the top of the third. Liberatore, he's He's been sharp early on, let's put it that way. Very sharp early on. He winds, he deals. Strike, curveball outside cornered right at the knees, and the count is 0-1 to the lefty hitting second baseman Lowe for Pittsburgh. Now here's the 0-1. Hit to the right side and over the head of J.J. Weatherall into right field for a leadoff single. So that is the first base runner of this game for either team. And how 27 pitches at this point, which means Liberatore, he is going and pitching from the stretch for the first time. Now here's the righty Triolo, runner on first, and nobody out, top of the third. Here's the pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball inside corner right at the knees, and the count is 0-1. Now the home plate umpire tonight has a very liberal strike zone. Yet there has not been a single ABS challenge here so far. Make of that what you will. Triolo, the right-hander, he's hitting 220. It's a lefty-righty matchup. Now here's the pitch. Hit on out to left field and in for a base hit. So that's a pair of singles here with nobody out. And now the Pirates have runners on first and second and nobody out here in the top of the third. And yeah, he was just right in on that thing. Came in on the hands, but really stayed up right about thigh high in the inner third. Now here's the pitch. Foul back and out of play on the bunt. And count is 0-1. Okay, that's a good question. How long have they been doing the replay on the balls and strikes? It just started this season in the major leagues. So it's called automatic balls and strikes. Now, the middle infielders are back at double play depth. The quarter infielders are both in on the grass. Now, here's the 0-1. Fouled off the foot on a curveball down and in, and the count is now 0-2. Each team, of course, they get 2 in regulation. If you win the challenge, you keep it. If you lose the challenge, you lose it. And then if once you've lost both, you can't challenge it, and you get another couple in extras. But there's more to say. Now, here's the 0-2. Called strike 3 on a curveball down and in for the first out of the inning. Now, that being said, my friend, basically, they have been testing out the technology extensively in the minor leagues, and then before that, in the independent Atlantic League. Now, here's the righty Gonzalez. This is his second at-bat tonight. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike, curveball down and in, swung right over the top of that one, and the count is 0 balls, 1 strike. Okay, as far as the batter on second in extra innings, that, I believe, is a pandemic year adaptation they kept. And he bluffs back towards second for the throw. And the count's still 0-1. I believe that is a pandemic year rule that they kept. One is because they're thinking about pace of game, which they were concerned about before the pandemic. Coming set. Here's the 0-1. Up and in, a four-seam fastball, nowhere near the zone. The count's 1-1. And, of course, they only do that in the regular season. In the playoffs and the World Series, there's no ghost runner on second in extra innings, thank God. Now, here's the 1-1. Chopped down to the third base side, fielded there by Gorman. He steps on third 1, and that'll be the only out he records there. And that'll be the second out of the inning. And you can score that out 5 for the runner at third. Gorman basically gets that on one hop. And good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining the chat. Runners on first and second. There are now 2 outs here. Connor Griffin, he's 0 for 1. The shortstop. It's a lefty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike on a curveball down and in. Swung right over the top of that one. So far, Liberatore has had his breaking ball going, whether it be the slider, the cutter, or that big old Uncle Charlie. From the stretch, Liberatore deals. Strike, cutter inside corner right above the knees, and the count is now no balls and 2 strikes. And yes, thank you all so much. Let me know where you're watching from. Griffin gets back into the box. It's an 0-2 count with 2 outs, runners on first and second. Liberatore deals. And a slider just missed on the inside corner and low. And the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1 ball, 2 strikes. It's a 1-2 count. Coming set is Liberatore. He sets at the Birds. Here's the 1-2. Swinging strike 3. Down he goes for the 3rd and final out of the inning. So Liberatore, he gets himself in and out of trouble. And luckily, it is all to no effect for the Pirates. We go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. No score at Busch Stadium. I'm Paul D. Thank you all so much for joining me here tonight. And if you're enjoying the call, you're enjoying the game, leave a like. It definitely helps a young channel like Bombers Game Mike grow and bring more fans to enjoy. And if you're really digging it, hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And hit the notification bell so you know when it's game time for the Redbirds here on Bombers Game Mike. But that being said, this is Bombers Game Mike. Dixon, Missouri is in the house. Thank you so much. Yes, indeed. Obviously, a lot of Missouri represented here. Collinsville, Illinois has shown up. Thank you so much for coming on in here, joining the game. This is a fan experience. This is our experience. We're here to have some fun, enjoy some Redbird baseball. And overall, there has been a lot to enjoy. We've been very fortunate here through 7, almost 8 weeks of the season, if you can believe it. Baseball season, they say the NFL season flies, and it does. But even though baseball is played every day, more or less, at least for me, it definitely goes by very quickly. The best months of the year, really. All right, we're here back for the bottom of the 3rd inning. There is no score down at Busch Stadium. Now, I believe this is the lefty Prieto. Let's see there. Yep, lefty Prieto, his first at-bat. Here's the pitch. Chopped on out there to short, fielding it on a couple of hops is Griffin. He throws to first in time for the first out of the inning. So Connor Griffin there manages to charge in on a couple of hops, pick that thing up, throw Prieto easily out down at first. So 1 pitch, 1 out here for Keller, who is really on his game. Definitely has shaken off, the stank from what he did against Colorado last time. Now here's Pages. Here's the pitch. Sweeper inside, just off the plate about thigh high. The count is 1-0. Pages, he's hitting 204. Now here's the 1-0 pitch. Just missed the outside corner with the 4-seam fastball at 92 miles per hour. Pages, he's hitting 204 with 4 home runs, 9 RBIs through 30 games, a 605 OPS. Here's the 2-0. Just down and away, a 4-seam fastball at 93 miles per hour on the outer third. And the count is now 3-0. And you have to imagine Pages here. He's probably going into statue mode. Now here's the 3-0. Strike, cutter, outside corner. About thigh high at 90 miles an hour. And the count is now 3-1. And the defense is more or less playing straight away. Second baseman playing fairly close to second, right in front of the outfield grass with center. Looking in for the sign from the full wind is Keller. Here's the 3-1. Inside a sinker, missed the zone. So the Cardinals finally have themselves a base runner here with the base on balls to the righty hitting catcher Pages. So that's definitely a thing for the Cardinals. And now here comes the lefty center fielder, Victor Scott II. Third baseman's in on the grass. Shortstop's almost behind second. Here's the pitch. hit on down towards the visiting dugout on an check swing, and the count is 0-1. So they have a runner on first with one out here in the bottom of the third inning. There is no score so far in this game. It is a righty-lefty matchup. Now here's the 0-1 for Keller. Hit on out, jammed towards a left field. Giving chase to the left fielder, but it goes into the stands. And the count is now no balls and 2 strikes. Victor Scott the third, hitting Victor Scott the second, I should say. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Nature has to happen. 35 pitches so far for Keller. And as you can imagine, the tarps off crowd at Busch Stadium tonight is getting a lot of airtime in terms of focus by the camera. Now he comes set at the belt. Here's the 0-2. Changeup outside, above the knees, just missed the outside corner. And that brings the count to 1 ball and 2 strikes. And we have an ABS challenge here. And the Pirates lose the challenge. The call is upheld. It missed the zone by 0.1 inches. That ain't much. So it is now 1 ball, 2 strikes to Vic Scott. Runner on first, 1 out, no score, bottom of the third inning. It's a 1-2 count. He comes set at the belt, and he throws over to first. Pages is definitely not going anywhere, folks. That much I can assure you. Certainly right now. Runner on first, 1 out, it's a 1-2 count. He comes set. Here's the pitch. Foul back behind the plate, now to play on a four-seam fastball up and in at 94 miles an hour. And the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. Yeah. It's really quite a phenomenon, those guys with shirts off. You wouldn't think people have not shown up with shirts off to ball games before. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side and off the glove of the first baseman. It caroms over to the second baseman, who then throws back to first in time for the second out of the inning. The runner, Pages, advances to second on the fielder's choice, and that'll be the second out of the inning. Yet for some reason, they are still showing Victor Scott here as being up. The runner is on first, and that's, I don't think it's definitely not the case. That's J.J. Weatherholt, the score bug man. I know the challenge. Weatherholt, he's 0 for 1 with a line out tonight. He's hitting .231 with 8 home runs and 22 RBIs on the year. Coming sets Keller, and here's the pitch. Slider down and in to the lefty Weatherholt. Nowhere near the zone. The count is 1-0. So with 2 outs here, the Cardinals do have a runner in scoring position by way of Pages down at second base. Coming set at the belt is the righty Keller. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Swinging strike, changeup down and away, swung right over the top of that one, did Weatherholt. And the count is now 1 ball and 1 strike. That changeup down and away to lefties so far tonight, very effective by Keller. It's a real major league pitch. Now, here's the pitch. And in the dirt, a slider nowhere near the zone, and that'll bring the count to 2 balls and 1 strike. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know what you think Liberatore's line is going to be once he's pulled tonight. He comes set at the belt. Here's a 2-1. Hit on out to left center field. Giving chase are both the outfielders. They're looking up, and it is gone. A 2-run home run for J.J. Weatherholt, and the Cardinals take a 2-0 lead. Oh, that thing basically got over the wall by a cut by, I would say at least 10 feet. And the Cardinals now have themselves a 2-0 lead with 2 outs here in the bottom of the third inning. And boy, an Abo Taco home run, as the kids like to say nowadays. And for a lefty like Weatherholt, you got to get a lot of that thing in order to get it out in that part of the park. 2-0 Redbirds on the 2-run jack by J.J. Weatherholt. Now here's Herrera. He's in for his second at bat. Here's the pitch. Strike cutter on the inner third, about thigh high, and the count is 0-1. So I'm curious to see the replay here, just because I love seeing a thing of beauty again and again. Here's the 0-1. Chopped down to the shortstop, Connor Griffin. He fields it on a hop. He throws to first in time for the third and final out of the inning. But the Redbirds strike. They draw first blood. We head to the top of the fourth inning. It is 2-0 Cardinals out in Busch Stadium. I'm Paul D. I'd like to thank you all so much for joining me here. If it's for your first time or you've been here before and you're enjoying it, please leave a like. Really helps out a young, small channel. And if you're digging the call, hit subscribe. Hit the bell there. You'll know when I'm going on. And I think it's fair to say this is Bombers Game Mike. 2-0 Redbirds. Yeah, that was quite a shot on the part there by Weatherall. My goodness. Yeah, he really got all of that one, and really, for the most part, it was the first poor pitch that Keller has largely thrown all day. And you know what? Cheers to that, folks. Cheers to that. My goodness. Pardon me a moment as I go and get a non-caffeinated beverage. Alrighty, we are here for the top of the fourth inning. Liberatore, he's out for his fourth frame of work. And now they're talking to the tarps off guys. These guys are becoming celebrities. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike on a cutter inside. And that'll bring the count to 0-1. No, everybody loves these guys. As well as they should. Because they're showing some really important enthusiasm at the games. Because the truth is, the Cardinals, they need the attendance. And I live in the area, so I understand why that has not been the case. And it is very unfortunate. Now, here's the 0-1 pitch. Chopped down out to the shortstop. He throws to first in time for the first out of the inning. Prieto, he got it there on a couple of hops. Easily had the runner at first for the first out of the inning. Now, out of curiosity, for those of you who are watching, I would imagine you're probably not at the game, since you're watching and listening to me, though in this day and age, it's certainly not impossible. Have you made it to a Cards game this year? Here's the pitch. Foul down the third base side and out of play, and the count is 1-0 to the cleanup hitter, the righty hitting Ozuna, who himself is 0 for 1 tonight. And if you are in the area, do you plan on going to one this year? I guess that's really the question. I mean, it's always going to matter how well and how competitive the Cardinals are, but I'm curious what you guys thought are on this one. Here's the 0-1. Swinging strike, four-seam fastball inside third, right below the belt. Swung underneath that one, did Ozuna, and that'll bring the count to 0-2. So, Liberatore, like he has been for most of the night, he's getting out ahead of these hitters. Here's the pitch. Foul down towards the Cardinal dugout. Giving chase is the first baseman Burleson, and it's well into the stands. Have you been to one? Do you plan on going to one? If so, what are the conditions? If not, what are your reasons for that? I want to know. I haven't been there yet. Haven't had the opportunity. I would really like to get to a game, though, sometime following this upcoming road trip. Here's the 0-2. Looking, strike three, down goes Ozuna for the second out of the inning. And right now, Liberatore is just, other than that somewhat rocky top of the third, He has 7 strikeouts so far tonight. 7 punch-outs for Liberatore in 3 2/3 innings of work. That's exceptionally impressive. Now, here's the pitch. Outside, a curveball to the lefty hitting Cruz. The 5-hitter, he's 0 for 1 tonight. Counts 1-0. You been to 2. Hey, there you go. Here's the pitch. Chopped down towards first base and past the reach of J.J. Weatherall and into right field. And Cruz, he's going over towards second. He took advantage of Walker being too lackadaisical there on the ball, it would appear. And so it looks like we got ourselves a 2-out double. The camera didn't go over to Walker long enough. It assumed that the play would be routine. Let's see the replay here. And now, of course, both the Cardinals.TV guys, they're wearing shirts that make them look very muscle-bound and very shirtless. I was wondering when some of these things would show up. I absolutely was. I knew it was going to happen at some point. I was telling that to my wife. Runner off second. Here's the pitch. Foul back behind the plate and out of play. And the count 0-1 on a sinker. So it looks like, if anything, even though they have yet to show what happened in right field, either Walker was too slow to the ball or he bobbled it and Garcia simply took advantage of the situation. Cruz took advantage of it. Here's the pitch. Cutter up and in out of the zone. And the count is 1-1. That is unfortunate up in Vermont, of course. But like I said, I'm talking more if you're in the area. You know, that's what I'm talking about here for the most part. It's a 1-1 count. Runner on second with 2 out. Here's the pitch. Curveball inside and just below the knees. And the count is 2 balls and 1 strike. And boy, that Cardinals score bug, it's all over the place, man. I don't know what's happening. Coming set is Liberatore. Here's the pitch. Strike outside corner. Change up 90 miles an hour right around the knees. And that'll even out the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. It is 2-0 Cardinals here in the top of the 4th inning on the power of a J.J. Weatherall home run. Here's the pitch. Hit on out towards shallow right, giving chases Burleson, and he picks it up on the fly for the 3rd and final out of the inning. So despite what turned out to be a 2-out double for the Buccos, they've got nothing to show for it. We head to the bottom of the 4th inning. I'm Paul D. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. And this is Bombers Game Mike. Yeah, I have to say, you know, and this kind of adds insult to injury in a way I feel for Cardinal fans, is that I haven't been that impressed with the Cardinals.TV production. In-game, certainly. Sometimes I feel like they over-focus on weird and irrelevant things, or they don't show or re-show things that I think are probably rather important. And of course, they're our replacement for a regional sports network, making it so much more difficult to watch games and certainly expensive. And, you know, with that in mind, if I'm any sort of substitute for that missing, well, thank you for choosing Bombers Game, Mike. I'm quite complimented. Okay, well, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this, my friend. And so long as you manage to come and visit back in the country here before the end of the season. So let's see. It's the 20th anniversary of the new Busch Stadium. And I got to say, it's still actually in really good shape. They built it well. They built it, I think, for the most part, to last. I personally never had the opportunity to go to a game at the old Busch Stadium. I always wanted to, though. As I'm very, very fond of saying, it is the only donut hole, cookie cutter, multi-use ballpark of the late 60s and 70s that was built anywhere in the United States that had a soul. Now, here's the first pitch. Up and away on the four-seam fastball to Burleson. Count is 1-0. Alec Burleson, he's 0 for 1 tonight. It's a righty-lefty matchup. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike on a sinker down and away. Swung right underneath that one, and the count is 1-1 strike. Yeah, okay. Here's the 1-1. Foul back towards the Cardinal on deck circle, and the count is 1-2. Well, I grew up in the New York City area, in very, very much southwestern Connecticut, so a direct suburb of New York City. So I'm a Yankee fan, primarily. I live here now, and I became a Cardinal fan about 20 years ago. Here's the pitch. Changeup out and away, floats over the righty batter's box, and the count is 2-2. But life has ways of being kind of funny. I never intended nor expected before I met my wife to be in this situation. Here's the pitch. Hit on out there to left field and over into left field for a base hit. Thrown in as a left fielder, and Burleson has himself a lead-off single here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Yeah, and it looked like a sinker down and away once again. He just went the other way with it, got solid contact, and ran. Runner on first, nobody out. Bottom of the fourth, here's Jordan Walker, his second bat. He's 0 for 1. Here's the pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball down and away on the outside corner at the knees, 93 miles an hour. The count is 0-1 strike to Jordan Walker. Runner leads off first. 2-0 Redbirds. Coming set is Keller. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side and over the second baseman's head into right center field for a base hit. Coming around second to third is Burleson. And so a single with nobody out and a runner on first for Jordan Walker. Burleson manages to get all the way from first to third on the thing. And now the Cardinals have runners on first and third. Nobody out here in the bottom of the fourth inning. They're finally starting to get to Keller here. And boy, it was, it's primetime must-watch TV watching Alec Burleson really try to chug there and round second, I can tell you that much. It's a righty-lefty matchup here. Now, here's the pitch. Changeup up and away out of the zone to the lefty Gorman. The count's 1-0. You know what? That is an experience I think every kid can definitely be on board with. Here's the 1-0. Four-seam fastball strike. Swung right underneath that one, did Gorman. It was a little above the birds on the bat. And that'll bring the count to 1-1. Let's put it this way. When I was 12 years old and El Duque was starting for the Yankees, I had quite a leg kick when I pitched. Coming set is Keller. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side. Right there's the second baseman. He throws the second one on to first, double play. But the run will score, and that will give the Cardinals a 3-0 lead. So, hey, it clears out the bases, but it definitely results in a run. That's what we like to call a productive out, or outs in this case. And the Redbirds now have a 3-0 lead over the Pirates here in the bottom of the fourth inning. Now, here's the lefty, Nate Church. And here's the pitch. Hit to the left side and through for a base hit. Finds the hole on the left side. So, a 2-out single there for Nate Church. And the Cardinals keep on trucking here in the bottom of the fourth. Now, when El Duque was... So, he debuted with the Yankees in 98. And I remember playing in Little League, 98, 99, 11, 12 years old, and I was pitching. Had this huge honking leg kick. I'm surprised I didn't hurt myself. I definitely would today. Here's the pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball, 93 miles per hour, right down Broadway. And the count is 0-1 to the lefty hitting Prieto, who's down at shortstop tonight for Mason Wynn. Leading off first is Church. Coming set is Keller at the belt. He throws over to first, and Church is back easily. Same deal with David Cohn. Getting that nice big one back there, no question. Or Kevin Brown. Well, he wasn't a Yankee until years later at that point. Common sense Keller. Here's the pitch. Hit to the left side. Fielded there by Connor Griffith. He throws to first in time for the third and final out of the inning. However, the Cardinals, they tack on one more. 0-3-0 Pirates, 3-4-1 Cardinals. We head to the top of the fifth inning. I'm Paul D. Thank you for joining me here. If you like what you're watching, leave a like. If you want to see more of it, catch more Redbird baseball with me, hit subscribe. And you are watching, listening, and hopefully enjoying Bombers Game Mic. 3-0 Redbirds. And, we're just talking about pitching here. I remember when Chuck Knobloch, or once he got the yips back in 01, or I think it really started showing up in 2000, but definitely in 01, he had that cradling stance, or Julio Franco over the top of the head. I still do that in the batting. Gary Sheffield, there's another one with the bat waggle. In fact, I remember when I played many, many years ago, I actually adopted that because it was a good timing mechanism. That, and you could just rip on that thing. Gary Sheffield, boy, he was he was quite a competitor. Sitting down the left field line, third base at the old Yankee Stadium back when he was on the Yankees, there were more than a few times when I had to duck away from one of those laser beam line drives down the third base line by Gary Sheffield. That was terrifying. So, if you're just joining us here, 3-0 Cardinals going to the top of the fifth. Let me know where you're watching or listening from. And, once again, now here's the next question. How many innings do you think Liberatore has left in him? I'm curious. I mean, at this point, there's no reason to think that if he's clean, he couldn't get a couple more. Now, here's the first pitch. A slider down and in, just missed height-wise, and the count's 1-0 to the second baseman, Lowe, who's 1 for 1. Liberatore has only thrown 53 pitches so far, which is great for how many strikeouts he's had. Here's the pitch. Slider up and in, fouled right back by Lowe, and the count is 1 ball and 1 strike. It's a lefty-lefty matchup. Nobody on, nobody out. Top of the fifth inning. 3-0 Redbirds. From the full wind is Liberatore, and the southpaw deals. Popped up behind the plate and out of play. And Liberatore is ahead in the count, 1-2. He's been throwing a lot of strikes, and his breaking pitches, all of them, cutter, slider, curveball, very effective to both righties and lefties. The lefties haven't been hitting it going away, and the righties have been swinging right over the top of it, going down and in. It's been a real clinic. Now, here's the 1-2 pitch. Hit on up the middle and past a diving Prieto into center field for a leadoff base hit in the top of the fifth inning. Let me think on that. Let me think on who I would bring up. Well, first off, it would also be contingent in this case on who they get back. So I think you have to add that into the equation. First pitch, forcing fastball up and away, 95 miles per hour, nowhere near the zone. Count is 1-0. Now, here's the 1-0 pitch. Foul back behind the plate, now to play. A four-seam fastball, 94 miles an hour. And the count is 1-1. And he throws over to first. Back in time is Lowe. No, you definitely don't. No, you don't see complete games like you used to. Believe me, this is a conversation I'd love to have, and we can see if we get into it in the half inning if I remember. Here's the 1-1. Hit to the left side and past a diving Prieto into left center field for a base hit. Coming around second is Lowe, and he goes into third, and now the Pirates have runners on first and third and nobody out here in the top of the fifth inning. That one just jumped off the bat. Prieto just couldn't get a piece of it. Stepping into the plate here is the right-hander. The infield defense is definitely shaded very clear out towards left. J.J. Weatherholt just to the right field side of second, right there on the lip of the grass. Coming set is Liberatore. Here's the pitch. And he hits it on up into shallow center field. Coming in is Victor Scott. He calls for it. He makes the catch. He throws home, and there is no play to be had because Lowe stayed at third. So he manages to keep the run from scoring from third. A very impressive play there by Victor Scott. Lowe wanted no part of that. Yeah, you don't see complete games like you used to anymore. And I feel like this has been at least 2 decades, maybe 2.5 decades in the making. Runners on first and third, 1 out, top of the fifth inning. Now here's the third baseman, Nick Gonzalez. He's 0 for 2 with the fielder's choice. He's hitting .314, 19 RBIs on the year, no dingers to show for it. Liberatore, his back on the bump. He centers on the rubber. He comes set at the Birds. Now here's the 1-2. Well, here's the pitch. Four-seam fastball up in and out of the zone. The count's 1-0. So really the pitch count thing started really kind of getting hammered in on the professional level right around 2000, I'd say. That's when it really started becoming an institutionalized thing. Here's the 1-0. Just missed the outside corner. A changeup off the plate about thigh high. And the count is 2 balls and no strikes. It's a lefty-righty matchup with the righty Gonzalez against the lefty Liberatore, who himself comes set at the stretch and at the Birds. Here's the 2-0. Changeup just missed down and away. And the count is 3-0. I can't say that I've loved the home plate umpire strike zone tonight, but there's only been one challenge, and that challenge failed. So, what can I say? Coming set is Liberatore. Here's a 3-0. Up and in, ball 4. So that'll load the bases. Okay. So if they trade May, and I believe you said Prieto, Palanta. Well, the point is, it really depends on who they get back, right? And I think there is one guy that we all are very curious about, though I don't know that he's entirely ready yet. Of course, that's Liam Doyle. But one thing is for sure is that the Cardinals have one of the top-rated farm systems in all of baseball. You'd think they invented the farm system. Bases loaded, 1 out from the full wind. He deals. Breaking ball down and in to Connor Griffin. And count is 1-0. Pages has been a very steady presence there behind the dish. Connor Griffin, he's back up. It's a lefty-righty matchup. From the full wind is Liberatore. Here's the 1-0. Out and away, a cutter nowhere near the zone. 91 miles an hour. And the count is now 2 balls and no strikes. 3-0 Redbirds. But right now the Buccos are threatening, and threatening big time. Liberatore has the sign. He winds and deals. Up and away, and it gets past Pages. Coming home is the runner, and he will score on the wild pitch. So, hey, sometimes you just give them away, and it is now 3-1 Redbirds. in the top of the 5th inning. So the wheels seem to be coming off here a bit for Liberatore here in the top of the 5th. And Pages really had no chance at that ball. That was wild pitch, kind of like in a Rick Ankiel way, to use a reference here. It's a 3-0 count here to Connor Griffin. Runners on first and third, 1 out. Here's the pitch. Strike, 4-seam fastball on the outer third thigh high, and the count is 3-1. Runners on first and third, 1 out. 1 already in here for the Pirates. It's 3-1 Redbirds. Coming set is Liberatore. Here's the pitch. Hit on back behind the plate and out of play on a slider down and away, and that'll bring the count full 3-2. Bases loaded this season. Connor Griffin, he's only had 4 at-bats with him, and he has gotten a hit in that. Looking in for the sign is Liberatore. He comes set at the Birds. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Called strike 3. Down goes Griffin for the second out of the inning. Well, talk about helping your own cause on that one. And that looked like a changeup. Perfectly, it just whispers over the black of the outside corner to the righty Griffin there. It was knee high. You know, you couldn't have run it up any better. So runners on first and third, 2 out here. 3-1 Cardinals, top of the 5th. Here's the pitch. Hit on out to left center field. Heading back are both the left and right fielders. He's looking up, and it hits the base of the wall. And at least 1 run will score. Presumably, the runner will at least get to third, and 2 runs will score. And it is now a tie game on the stand-up base is clearing double. Not pretty. Not pretty. So, unfortunately, that was a fastball that was out and over the plate about belt high. He split the outfielders on that. It hits the base of the wall. And here we are. And here we are. I think this might be the hook. Let's find out. Liberatore does look kind of gassed and rather annoyed with himself, which he should be. Nope. Let's see here. It is Ollie Marmol on the mound, but he's having a long chat. At least I think it is, because I've only seen the back of his freaking head. Gotta love the camera angles of this action, folks. Okay. No, it was indeed the pitching coach. When you can't see the face, it gets a little hard. Gordon Graceffo, the righty, is getting hot down in the Cards bullpen. Runner on second, 2 out. We're all tied at 3 in the top of the 5th inning. And right now, Liberatore is looking to get out of this jam. 71 pitches so far for Liberatore. And now here's the righty Ozuna, who's 0 for 2 tonight. From the stretch and at the Birds is Liberatore. Here's the first pitch. Down in a slider, out of the zone, off the plate, and at the shins. Count is 1-0. Runner leads off second. He's going to eat well tonight. Coming set is Liberatore. Here's the pitch. Is a fly ball down the left field line. Heading over towards the line is Church. And he goes into the stands, and it goes easily 5 or 6 rows deep. The count is 1-1 strike. So at this point, Liberatore, for the sake of his own team, needs to keep Pittsburgh right here. 73 pitches so far on the outing for our lefty Liberatore. And Marcell Ozuna, he's struck out a couple of times so far tonight. Coming set, here's the 1-1. Curveball just off the plate, above the knees. Blue behind the plate is not impressed. The count is 2-1. He comes set. Here's the 2-1. just off the plate, a changeup. Definitely did not have the plate. And the count is now 3 balls and 1 strike. Runner leads off second. There are 2 outs here in the top of the 5th, all tied at 3. It's a 3-1 count to Marcell Ozuna. Here's the 3-1. Ball 4 on the slider, down and in. So the inning continues with the wheels having almost come entirely off here for Matthew Liberatore. So we await the next at-bat. Runners on first and second, 2 out, top of the 5th, all tied at 3. It is a lefty-lefty matchup. Time is granted by the home plate umpire at the behest of Pajes, the catcher. And in steps the lefty O'Neill Cruz, who's 1 for 2 tonight. It's a lefty-lefty matchup. Here's the pitch. Hit on out to right field. Giving chase is Walker. It falls in for a base hit. He throws in towards second, and the runner tries to advance to second from first, and he is in safely, and a run scores from second, and that will give the Pirates a 4-3 lead now with runners on second and third and 2 out, and here comes Ollie Marmol. Boy, oh boy, that one was bad. It was just bad. This inning has totally come apart. Jordan Walker also has definitely not had the most distinguished day out defensively in right field, unfortunately. And now here comes the righty, Gordon Graceffo. Well, fate as usual. I mean, game ain't over yet, man. They just have to play better. But I've been saying this all along, and I really do believe this, is that right now, something we all know is that as far as the rotation is concerned, we're experiencing a pitching change, in case you're wondering, is the Cardinals have basically a collection of middle-of-the-rotation guys. And they have largely pitched well, like Michael McGreevy, great example. However, at the moment, there's nobody on the major league roster, so the 26-man, that is a front-of-the-rotation guy. And so the question really becomes, if the Cardinals can stay and hang in there in the NL Central and the wild card, and you get to the middle of July and past the All-Star break, which, basically seems like the far-flung Star Trek future from now, will Chaim Bloom and will ownership potentially pony up and trade for a front-of-the-rotation guy? Now, in all likelihood, they would be expensive in terms of prospects because ownership is doing everything possible at the moment not to increase payroll. However, it is something at the moment that they absolutely require. That and a consistent and clearly demarcated and clear closer at the back of the pen. Now, Gordon Graceffo through 20 games, 24 and 2/3 innings, a 1.82 ERA, a 0.93 whip. He's had a pretty good year. It's a righty-righty matchup with Garcia at the plate. Here's the pitch. Hit on up towards shallow right field. Coming underneath it is Burleson. He makes the catch for the third and final out of the inning. So it finally comes to an end, but not before the Buccos put up a 4 spot in the top of the 5th inning. So the Cardinals absolutely have their work cut out for them offensively. They put up 3 runs so far. It's not impossible to conceive they might try it again. We shall see. But 4-3 Pirates going to the bottom of the 5th inning. I'm Paul D. Thank you so much for joining me here for this Tuesday night Cardinal baseball. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, please leave a like. Really helps out the young channel, small channel like mine. If you're digging what you see and you want to see more of it, hit subscribe. And you are watching, listening And despite the top of the fifth we had, hopefully enjoying Bombers game, Mike. So, Gordon Graceffo to the rescue. And not a moment too soon. Yeah, there's no reason not to stay hopeful at this point, you know. I mean, here's the interesting thing about most of these teams in the NL Central. Whether it be the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Brewers, the Pirates, the Reds, but especially the first four I named, they're all pretty good. I mean, the Pirates are 4.5 games out coming into this game tonight. And while I don't think they will end up winning the division, it definitely says something about the quality of it. That and just, feasting on how bad most of the American League has been. Holy hell. We head to the bottom of the fifth inning. Down at Busch Stadium. Mitch Keller, he's on the mound for his fifth frame. Here's the pitch. Up and in and out of the zone, a four-seam fastball to Pages, who is walked with a run scored. It's a righty-righty matchup. Now here is the 1-0 pitch. Just off the plate, a cutter. About thigh high. The count's 2-0. No, you're probably right. Now here's the 2-0 pitch. Inside a sinker, nowhere near the zone. And the count's 3-0. Basically, what you're looking at is either you're giving up some valuable minor league pieces for a guy that's either coming up right on free agency or is a year away. Here's the pitch. Strike, outside corner, right above the knees. The count is now 3-1. So you're giving up talent in lieu of money there. And you'd hope it's not a situation where it's 2 months and they're gone, but instead, 14 months and they're gone. But these are difficult hypotheticals. Here's the 3-1. Hit on out to shallow right field. Coming on over is the right fielder. He's underneath it to make the catch for the first out of the inning. But right now, I really think the plan, for the most part, if I had to guess, really is that they will probably go and see what's available down in the pen. See if they can't get anything, a diamond in the rough somewhere. Whether they claim him off waivers or just a low-key trade. Here's the pitch. Slider down and into Victor Scott, nowhere near the zone. And the count is 1-0. There's a lot of room to grow. So as far as infield defense is concerned, very heavily shaded towards right. Here's the pitch. Foul down the third base side and out of play. And the count is 1-1. But ultimately, I think what this Cardinal team is, everything they do this year in some ways, they're considering house money. Here's the 1-1. Down and in, out of the zone, a four-seam fastball, 93 miles an hour from Keller. The count is 2-1. The third baseman is up playing on the grass. Everybody else is shaded towards right. Here's the pitch. Hit to the right side, right to the second baseman, Walker. He throws to first in time for the second out of the inning. An easy ground ball to Walker there. Couple of quick hops on the ground. And now, here comes J.J. Weatherall. He's responsible for 2 of the 3 Cardinal runs here tonight with that 2-run bombola back in the third. Here's the pitch. Curveball strike on the outer third, right above the knees, and the count is 0-1 to JJ. Nobody on, 2 out, bottom of the fifth, 4-3 Pittsburgh. Here's the pitch. Cutter up and in, just missed off the plate, and the count is 1-1. Once again, shaded very heavily towards right is the infield defense. Here's the 1-1. Chop foul and rolls towards the Cardinal on deck circle. And count is 1-2. 68 pitches here so far in this outing for Keller, who himself is staying right where he is, settling down a bit. He's from the full wind. Now here's the 1-2 pitch. Down and in a slider, not giving chase is Weatherholt, and that'll even out the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And a nice muggy night here in the St. Louis area. Perfect for getting into late May baseball. Here's the pitch. Swinging, strike 3 on a curveball, down and in, and that will do it. 1-2-3 go the Redbirds. We head to the top of the 6th inning. 4-3 Buccos down at Busch Stadium. I'm Paul D. This is Tuesday night Redbird baseball on the western banks of the mighty Mississippi. And this is Bombers Game Mic. Yeah. Okay. Well, I imagine that we will see Graceffo out to start the top of the 6th. No indication that there was anything going on down in the Cardinal bullpen. At least nothing that Cardinals.tv was showing. Though I don't necessarily consider them the most reliable production in baseball so far this year. Now, I'm curious. For those of you that are in the area, even though I know you can get it in other ways, have you listened to the Cardinals on the radio at all this year on KMOX? I don't know why I can't get that tonight. Usually I can just whip that one off. I tell you, I know he's passed away for a number of years. And then before that, he was retired. But I really do miss listening to Mike Shannon. He's such a character. I remember when I encountered him for the first time. And I knew, like, oh, this is an old school baseball guy who just lets it all hang out. Never ate at his steakhouse, however. I consider that a missed opportunity. Now, we start the top of the 6th inning. And Graceffo is out to start the frame against the lefty low, and here's the pitch. Just off the plate, a four-seam fastball, 95 miles an hour for a ball. And the count is 1-0. Yeah, go Cardinals. Let's get this win. A lot of it's on the right arm of Graceffo here. He comes wide, the 1-0 pitch. Changeup down and in, just missed off the plate and low. And the count is 2-0 to Lowe. Brandon Lowe, 2 for 2 with a couple of singles and a run scored. A very solid year for the Buccos second baseman. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball on the outside corner at the knees, and the count is 2-1. And if you're watching here right now, I'm curious, have any of you ever visited Pittsburgh, and specifically recently, or within the last 20 years, I think it's fair to say? Graceffo has a sign from the full wind, the 2-1. Curveball just off the plate there, and below the knees, and the count is 3 balls and 1 strike. I'm always very impressed with Pittsburgh. It is quietly one of the best cities in America. Coming wide is Graceffo. Here's the 3-1. Hit down the first base side and out of play. And that'll bring the count full, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Okay. So what they're worried about there is actually not a strike. They're worried about a lockout. And it has to do with the fact that the owners want to institute a salary cap, a hard cap. Now, here's the 3-2 pitch. Swinging strike 3. Down goes Lowe for the first out of the inning. Graceffo starts off the top of the 6th in the fashion any Redbirds fan would hope. Do you think our pitcher will go 3 inches? I can't say I follow, friend. 1 out, nobody on, top of the 6th. Yeah, here's the pitch. Slider down and away out of the zone to the righty Triolo. The count's 1-0. So the owners want a hard cap. And Triolo, first baseman, 2 for 2 with a pair of singles and a run scored. A lot of it actually has to do with certain revenue streams drying up. Now, here's the 1-0 pitch. Strike, slider, right on the inner third of the plate at the knees to the righty Triolo. The count's 1-1. It's a righty-righty matchup. Specifically, the issue with the regional sports networks. Because I think it was Bally and most recently, and then, of course, they had Fox Sports Midwest before that. Here's 1-1. Hit on up the middle. Victor Scott's coming in, and he has to play it on a hop. So a 1-out single here for the Pirates in the top of the 6th inning. Oh, okay, 3 more innings. I mean, I don't think Graceffo in all likelihood is intended to go that far. I mean, he is still supposed to be a short reliever for the most part. I mean, he could go a couple of innings unless Ali Marmol really needs him to save the bullpen. Now, here's a pitch. Swinging strike, four-seam fastball, inside corner swing right underneath that. Did the righty Davis, and the count is 0-1. Henry Davis, the catcher, he's 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a flyout. He's hitting a $138 on the year, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs in 34 games this year. Coming set is Graceffo. Runner on first, 1 out. Now here's the pitch. And he popped on up, giving chases Pages behind the dish. He's looking, and he is right there, right in front of the red brick behind the plate for the 2nd out of the inning. So quick work there on the part of Graceffo. Yeah, I think one of the, well, obviously the game obviously contributes to Shannon's interesting late call action. Very animated anyway. Then I think you almost always had a Budweiser standing by during a long summer night's game, and who could blame him? Now here's the first pitch to Gonzalez. Foul back behind the plate and out of play. And the count is 0-1. But yeah, really the issue is that, like the Cardinals, there's about a dozen or so other teams that have lost the regional broadcasters and the large revenues that have come with them, and they've had to partner with MLB.TV for their own team name.TV, like Cardinal.TV here. Now, here's the 0-1 pitch. Down and in, a four-seam fastball, 94 miles per hour. It looks like, at first it looked like it was being challenged, but indeed, Pages was just asking for a new ball. Nick Gonzalez struck out, fielder's choice, and a walk. He is the third baseman tonight. And the revenue they get from things like Cardinal.TV or Padres.TV is not nearly what they were pulling in from the bigger fish. Here's the pitch. Hit down the left side and foul. Just goes to the foul side of the third base bag. And the count is 1-2 strikes. So, I mean, I think maybe at most they get a third of the revenue through like a Cardinals.TV or a Padres.TV or a Brewers.TV that they would have from a Bally or previously like a Fox Sports Midwest thing. So that's a problem. And one of the ways I'm sure they're looking to make up for that is, trimming back player, spending on player salaries. He throws over to first, and it gets away there from Burleson. Going to second is the runner there on the wild pickoff throw, or rather more the botch pickoff throw. I have to say, I think that was much more on Burleson than it was on Graceffo. Oh, no, that was on Graceffo. It hit the back of the runner's head and then went skipping out into foul territory down the right field line. It is a 1-2 count to the righty Gonzalez. Here's a 1-2. Curveball in the dirt, down and away. Keeping the thing in front of him is Pages, and that'll bring the count even at 2-2. So, and naturally, as far as salary caps go, the last thing the players' union wants is a hard cap. I think we all know why. Runner on second, 2 out here. Coming set is Graceffo. Here's the 2-2. It is a sinker down and in about shin high, and that will bring the count full, 3-2 strikes. So Graceffo, for the most part, has done well. Save, plunking the runner at first in the back of the head with the ball. allowing the thing to go skidded off there into foul territory. Coming set is Graceffo. He steps off the rubber, and he wants a new baseball. And the home plate umpire is going to ensure that he gets it. So the owners want a salary cap. Players Union absolutely doesn't. And that means come, I think, December 3rd, when the new when the current CBA expires, you got to have yourselves a lockout. Now, here's the 3-2. Foul down the first base side and out of play. Count remains 3-2. Now, whether that lockout lasts into spring training or part of the season, I don't know. And certainly, the Players Union has had its own tribulations in terms of its leadership. The previous head of the Players Association, had to step down due to extracurricular activities. Coming set is Graceffo. Here's the 3-2. Hit behind the plate and out of play on a sinker, 97 miles per hour on the hands. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with either of those two most recent points in the chat. Coming set is Graceffo. Here's the 3-2. Hit down the third base side, fielded by Gorman. He throws to first in time for the third and final out of the inning. We head to the bottom of the 6 innings. It is 4-3 Pittsburgh down at Busch Stadium. I'm Paul D., and I'd like to thank you so much for joining me here on this Tuesday night edition of Redbird Baseball. If you're digging the call, if you're digging the stream, leave a like. It helps a young, small channel out a lot. And if you like what you see, subscribe. Always love to have you back. And this is Bombers Game Mic. Yeah. Whatever the case is, 2027 is definitely in jeopardy. And so, for all that it's worth, right now, I think as fans, we're just in a position where let's enjoy the baseball we have right now. Because, the game is going to change in some way. Whatever way that is, we can't be sure yet. But I do know this, is that between the absolutely maddening situation with being able to follow, for a lot of teams, Cardinals included, every day, where you have to go and get a whole special subscription for $20 a month if you're watching them in market, because you can't just turn on the TV or satellite and have it be on any sort of basic package like it was for all of our lives. And then if you do that, it still only accounts for about 120 to 130 games. And then you have things like Amazon Prime Video, Peacock, Netflix, God forbid. It's maddening, confusing, frustrating, and expensive. We're here for the bottom of the 6th inning. Here's the at-bat for Herrera. Here's the pitch. Fastball up and out of the zone. The count is 1-0 to the Cardinals DH tonight. He's 0 for 2. Yeah, that would have been really interesting. I mean, obviously Bob Gibson is before my time. But I do love my baseball history. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Sweeper down and away and out of the zone to the righty Herrera. The count is 2-0. And you think about how good he was with the mound lowering. Today, my God, here's a 2-0. And he just gets a piece of that thing up and in on a cutter on an, check swing. The count is 2-1. Honestly, I'm not sure yet. It's not impossible. I have to look more into the numbers at the moment. Here's a 2-1. Hit down the third base side and out of play. The count is 2-2. No, but to see, it's interesting because Bob Gibson is one of those guys that is so much a product of his era. And I'm not even just talking in terms of how the game is structured today and how baseball thinks. Keller comes wide. Here's the 2-2. Slider down and away out of the zone. They bring the count full 3-2. It is just the incredibly bullish nature of his competitiveness. There's almost no one in the game today like him. Here's the 3-2. And he popped him straight on up. Home run in a silo, as I like to say. Underneath it is the second baseman, Walker. He makes the catch for the first out of the inning. I mean, there are stories about Tim McCarver coming out for a conference on the mound with Bob Gibson. And Bob Gibson, basically just, chewing him up, spitting him out, sending him back behind the dish. Here's the pitch. Changeup out and away, 88 mile per hour. Changeup, the count's 1-0. Alec Burleson, 1 for 2 tonight, single and a run scored. Nobody on, 1 out. Here's the pitch. Chopped down the first base side and out of play. And the count is 1-1. Now, I'd have to take a look at the numbers on Baez at the moment, honestly. And I might do that in the half inning. Now, here's the pitch. Outside, a sinker. Missed the plate about thigh high, and the count is 2-1. But you just, I mean, God. Now, here's the 2-1. Strike, changeup on the inside half of the plate, a little above the knees to the lefty Burleson. That gangs the count to 2-2. I mean, didn't he make a Game 7 start with a partially torn rotocuff? Bob Gibson, that is. Here's the pitch. And it hits Burleson on his left back foot with a curveball. So the Cardinals get themselves a 1-out base runner here in the bottom of the 6th by way of hit by pitch. Yep, right on the top of the left foot there. You definitely don't try to bean somebody with your Uncle Charlie. No, the kind of fierceness, hyper-competitiveness, and just the way they would pitch in that era. I mean, nobody would dare dig in, against Bob Gibson or Nolan Ryan. Today, I can't really think of any guy that would ever try and throw up and in because of that. Here's a pitch. Hit on out into right in front of the Cardinals dugout. Showing is the first baseman. He's in front of it. He makes the catch right there on the top step of the Cardinal dugout for the second out of the inning. 1 pitch, 1 out there. Yeah, so pitchers definitely do not dominate the home plate area like they used to. Nobody's worried about, getting some cheddar up and in, what Roger Clemens used to call the old bow tie. It's not part of the game anymore, and it was very much a part of the game for a guy like Bob Gibson. Now, we are going to the pen. In comes the lefty Sisk in relief of Mitch Keller, who I got to say, for the most part, pitched pretty darn well. He's still responsible for the runner at first, but through 5 2/3 innings, he's only allowed 3 earned runs, and he's given the Pirates a real chance here in this game. So we're going to the bullpen, are the Buccos. Really? I didn't know there was a Bob Gibson comic book. I got to look that up. That sounds actually really cool. That's one of those things that, at least to me, is kind of like one of these really cool oddity relics from an era past that just have such cultural value to me personally. I love that kind of stuff. But, yeah, boy. That, and you hear old-timers talk about facing a guy like Bob Gibson, and they knew it was going to be a long day at the plate. it was not going to be a comfortable at-bat. But, in terms of how pitching has changed so much, I mean, even 20 years ago, maybe slightly more than that, we were already beginning to see pitch counts in, high school, Babe Ruth, Pony, even like high Little League. It's kind of nuts when you really stop and think about it. And now you have guys coming in to the league. Now here's Evan Sisk, the left-hander, 18 innings pitched, a 1.42 ERA, a whip of 1, and 11.37 strikeouts per 9. Now, here's the lefty Gorman, and here's the pitch. Outside, a sinker well out and away of the zone, 92 miles an hour. And the count is 1 ball and no strikes. And Sisk here, he definitely drops down to the three-quarter action, even somewhat sidearm, which makes this a very tough at-bat for Gorman. Here's the pitch. Strike, sinker, outside corner. And the count is 1-1. Because if you're Gorman here, with a guy like Sisk on the mound, it looks like he's throwing out of right field. That's nuts. And that's one of the reasons they're giving us this here. Here's the pitch. Hit on out there to right center field. Going back, looking up. And it is gone. A 2-run home run for Gorman. Well into the right center field seats easily. A dozen rows deep. And the Cardinals now have taken a 5-4 lead. Oh, Gorman got all of that. He absolutely got all of that. That thing couldn't have gone an inch less than 400 feet to the power alley in right center field at Busch Stadium. 5-4 Redbirds here in the bottom of the 6th inning. Oh boy, that is exactly what the Redbirds needed right here, right now. And now, of course, we have the lefty Church against the lefty Sisk. Here's the pitch. Curveball down and away and out of the zone, 77 miles an hour, floats over the lefty batter's box, and the count is 1-0. Oh yeah. If you're loving that one, show it in the chat. Here's the 1-0. Chopped down towards the first base side, taking himself as the first baseman to the bag for the third and final out of the inning. However, by way of the left-handed batter Gorman, the Cardinals go deep, and they get 2 more, and they wrestle back the lead. It is 5-4 Redbirds going to the top of the 7th inning. I'm Paul D. This is Tuesday night Cardinal baseball on the western banks of the mighty Mississippi. And this is Bombers Game Mic. 5-4 Redbirds. New ball game. And hey, if you're enjoying the call, you're enjoying the game, hit that like. Really helps the channel out. I want to keep doing more Redbirds games for you guys. Helps the channel to grow. Allows me to dedicate more time to doing this well. When you guys show up and you show me the love there, which I like to think, I do my best to earn, of course. And you guys have been great, by the way. I mean, how much fun has this been? Well, that would be a very interesting bet, to say the least, my friend. No, this has been a lot of fun. I started doing these Redbirds games now about a week ago, and it just gets more and more fun each time. It's really something to look forward to in my day. Guys come here having fun watching baseball together. Some of you are from the St. Louis area or the Midwest more generally. Some of you are in the contiguous United States in places like Vermont. Or like my friend here, who is watching as he retired in Uganda. I mean, that is the 21st century. At least part of it. At least one of the best parts of it. So, thank you guys so much for being here. It's just been a whole barrel of monkeys. That, and I like to think it's a little something that, just given the weird TV situation, especially for local Cardinals fans, that I can do. something that's within my power. It's not my primary gig, but I love doing it. Here's the first pitch. Chopped down now towards short. Fielding there is by Gorman, but he boots the ball, and it rolls towards second. So Griffin will reach first on an error there by Gorman right after he blitzes ahead. So runner on first, nobody out in the top of the seventh inning. Ryan Stanek, 19 of the third innings pitch, a 6.52 ERA, a 1.86 whips, and 12.57 strikeouts per 9 innings. And he only gives up about 34% ground balls, so it's either strikeout or flyout for this dude. He comes set. Here's the pitch. Just missed on the inside corner at thigh high, 96 miles per hour on the four-seamer. The count's 1-0. Hey, Seattle joining the chat. Here's the 1-0. Grounded down the first base side. He throws to second to apply the tag after getting the force at first. And I believe that is a double play. So Burleson gets a strong ground ball right to him. He steps on the bag at first. He throws down to second where Prieto is waiting. And he puts the tag on the runner with no more force possible. And that is what we like to call in the business a double play. So, 2 outs here in the top of the seventh. Now here's a pitch. Four-seam fastball up and away, 99 miles an hour, and the count's 1-0. Tennessee joining us here tonight. Now here's a pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball, inside corner at the knees, and the count's 1-1. Miami joining us, just discovered the channel. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate the compliment. Here's the 1-1. Strike, sinker, inside corner, thigh high, and it looks like we're going to have an ABS challenge on that one if I saw correctly. Let's find out. At the moment, however, it's a 1-2. Nope, he was just adjusting his helmet. Coming set is Stanek. Here's the pitch. Just low on the splitter, down and in. The count is 2-2. To the right-hander, the DH Marcell Ozuna, who's 0 for 3. Couple of strikeouts and a walk. Stanek comes set at the Birds. Here's the pitch. Just missed on that slider. It had all the plate, but apparently was just low. Home plate umpire not impressed. And the count is 3-2 strikes. Seattle, Tennessee, Miami. It's a full count to Marcell Ozuna. Coming set at the Birds is Stanek. Here's the pitch. And it is an ABS challenge there. It was called ball 4. Let's see what happens. And the call is upheld. It is a ball, so a 2-out walk for Marcell Ozuna. It missed down and away by 0.6 inches, and the Cardinals will lose one of their ABS challenges. Both Pittsburgh and St. Louis have one ABS challenge remaining, and Ali Marmol is going to the pen, and here comes the lefty, Jojo Romero. They go to the pen, and let's go take a look at the chat. Wow, you actually got to play. Wow, really got to play as a kid at Sportsman's Park? Oh, man. But I wouldn't pay to have your memory, man. That is so cool. And apparently, Milwaukee is up 3-0 over the Cardinals at the moment. In fact, let's take a look at the scores around the league. Because that seems like a thing to do at the moment as we wait. Okay, let's see here. All right, well, the Nats are beating the Mets 9-6 in the top of the 8th. Red Sox are beating the Royals 2-1 in the top of the 7th. The Astros over the Twins right now in the bottom of the 8th. The Brewers, of course, are beating the Cubs 3-0, just like it was shown in the chat. They're in the bottom of the bottom of the 7th inning. The Rangers are beating the Rockies 5-0 at the end of 3. No score in the A's-Angels game because they haven't started yet. And we are still waiting for Dodgers-Padres, Giants D-backs, White Sox Mariners, Braves, and of course, the Braves beat the Marlins earlier today, 8-4. Guardians over the Tigers 4-3 earlier on. The Rays beat the Orioles 4-1. The Reds beat the Phillies 4-1 earlier on today as well. And we are waiting here for Jojo Romero to get warmed up coming into this game. Ollie Marmol, he's heading to the pen. Jojo Romero, 22 and a third innings pitch, a 3.22 ERA, a 1.21 whip, a 7.66 strikeouts per nine. It is a lefty-lefty matchup here. Runner on first, 2 out. Here's the first pitch to Cruz. Sweeper down and away out of the zone. The count's 1-0. Yeah, the Braves are very, very good this year. Like, scary good. Coming set is Romero. And he deals. Strike, sinker, down and in. Had the inner third of the plate at the knees, and the count is 1-1. Coming set. Once again is Romero to the lefty O'Neill Cruz. Here's the pitch. Correction. To Cruz. And the count is now 1-2. Yeah, the 44 World Series. That was a wartime World Series. Coming set is Cruz. Here's the 1-2. Just got a piece of that sweeper down and away. Count remains 1-2. And to think, in all St. Louis World Series, it's been a while. No, those wartime teams were interesting. O'Neill Cruz struck out a single and a single. Coming set is Romero. Runner leads off first. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike 3. Down goes O'Neill Cruz for the third out of the inning. So the Cardinals, they got themselves a 5-4 lead going to the bottom of the 7th. It's 7th inning stretch time here on Bombers Game Mic. And I promise you, I will not sing it. You know, if things go particularly well as the season progresses and it's a Sunday, I might belt out a well-intended, might I add, and very enthusiastic God Bless America. But no, I will not sing that. I will not subject you to that. I am a fair man. I am a just man. I like to think myself a gentleman. Well, thank you so much for. I'm really glad you enjoy my call of the game. You know, that really means a lot to me. And, you know, baseball is an interesting sport to call. And yeah, Gibby, 17 strikeouts. My God. You know, as a Yankee fan, the one thing the Cardinals will always have on us, of course, is that 64 World Series. Beat the Yankees in 7 games. Of course, I was not alive for that. I would not be alive for another 23 years. But, you know, I really do. Well, first off, my primary gig is history. And if you look behind me, look at those flags. Those are not a mistake. That's all of, though not the originals from the time, but certainly are of the World War II period. Specifically, you can't even see all of them. Australia's off frame there, and the Free French, you know, de Gaulle's bunch. You can kind of see them over there. I tend to switch them around a bit, even though I keep Old Glory there in that same spot. And Siska's out for his second frame of work. Here's the pitch. Sinker down and in for a ball to the right-handed hitter, Segazy, and the count's 1-0. It is a lefty-righty matchup. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Changeup down and in, well out of the zone. The count is 2-0. And I'm glad you guys are all enjoying this right now. The Cardinals, this is all in the hands of the bullpen, and they could stand, get some insurance runs here. Here's the pitch. Hit behind the plate and out of play on a sinker down and in at 90 miles an hour. And the count is 2-1. Man, those tarps off guys, they are getting so much attention, so much airtime. I think they're trying to turn this into a bigger Cardinal thing. Here's the pitch. Curveball off the plate and below the knees, and the count goes to 3-1. I mean, the Cardinal marketing department is definitely trying to push this thing hard. Coming set is the lefty Sisk. And here's a 3-1. Foul back behind the plate now to play on a sinker up and in at 92 miles an hour. And that brings the count full to 3 balls and 2 strikes. If you're digging the game here, you're digging my call, please leave a like. Helps the channel immensely, especially young. And if you want to come back watch more, please hit subscribe. And time is granted by the home plate umpire at the behest of Segazy with a full count. Segazy, he's hitting 164 this year. Coming set is the lefty Sisk. Here's a 3-2. Up and in, ball 4. So a leadoff walk here by Segazy in the bottom of the 7th inning. That is what we like to call one of the mortal sins of pitching, the leadoff walk. The leadoff walk. Thank you so much for subscribing. The Fire Phoenix 76. That username has style. Now here's Pedro Pajes. He's 0 for 1. Here's the pitch. Hit to the left side and through the hole for a base hit. So now the Cardinals now have runners on first and second and nobody out following the single by Pajes. And the Cardinals got themselves a little something cooking here in the bottom of the 7th. And yeah, that was a breaking ball. I think it was a slider. It was just middle. And Pajes just found the hole between third and short on that one. And now we have runners on first and second. Now here's the pitch. Showing bunt is Victor Scott. He puts it out right in front of the mound. Fielding is Sisk. He throws to first in time. So Victor Scott the second, he moves up the runners 90 feet. And there is one out here in the bottom of the 7th. So there are 2 runners in scoring position. That means, of course, the runner on third can score on a decently hit fly ball that can turn into a sac fly RBI, or a single will drive in 2. Now here's J.J. Weatherholt. It's a lefty-lefty matchup. Here's the pitch. Up and away, a sweeper well out of the zone. The count is 1-0. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the encouragement. It means the world to me. It really does. It's a 1-0 count here. Now here's the 1-0 pitch. Swinging strike, and he throws back down to second, and he has the runner in a pickle between third and home. He applies the tag for the second out of the inning. And that is absolutely frustrating as hell. So basically what happened there is the catcher for the Pirates, he catches Segazy going far too off third. He throws down to third to Gonzalez, who then catches Segazy in a pickle between home and third base, and he's the second out. It's a 1-1 count here. Now here's the 1-1 pitch. Just inside a sweeper, and the count is 2-1. That's the second time in a week that I can recall that the Cardinals have run themselves out of an inning unnecessarily by getting picked off third. Now here's the pitch. Sweeper inside, just missed the inside corner, about thigh high, and the count is now 3 balls and 1 strike. Those are the kind of base running mistakes that are just, you can't make on the major league level. Here's the 3-1. Ball 4 on a sinker, missing away. So now with 2 outs, the Cardinals have runners on first and second. But unfortunately, with Segazy there, leading too far off third, for reasons that I cannot even begin to understand. I mean, what was the point of the big lead there? I mean, if the ball gets away from the catcher, he's going to score. And we're heading to the bullpen. Sisk has been pulled from this game. Now, here comes... Bedoy, I believe it is pronounced. Bedoy. I think he is a right-hander. I'm going to double-check that. Yeah. So, Brandon Bedoy, the right-hander, 24 years old. So far in 2026 in 3 games, a 3 ERA through 3 innings pitched, a couple of strikeouts, and a whip of 1.33. So not, much by way of sample size there. So, Buccos, they're going to the pen. They're going to the pen. But right now, the one thing that is undeniable is that the Cardinals have themselves an opportunity, and you can't screw them up by getting picked off of third base in that situation. I'm sorry. It's bad baseball. I remember that happened to Mason Wynn out last Wednesday night out in Sacramento. You're just running yourself out of an inning. Yeah, actually, I did. Sorry about that. Yeah, in fact, I did see that. And a lot of that actually goes to the credit of Bobby Witt on the play. So he really deked the runner at third, making it think he had the ball and was applying the tag. And, of course, the third base coach is right there saying, calling BS. It's like, this guy, he's trying to fake you out. Go home. But by the time it was all over, it was done. Now, here's Ivan Herrera against the righty Bedoy. Here's the pitch. Strike, slider right down Broadway. Count is 0-1 to Ivan Herrera, who's at DH tonight. Yeah, I miss Yachty a lot. We were so lucky. Coming set is Bedoy. Here's the 0-1. Swinging strike on a slider down and away. Hacked right over the top of that one did Ivan Herrera. And the count is no balls and 2 strikes. Runners on first and second. 2 out. Bottom of the 7th. 5-0 Cardinals. Here's the 0-2. Swinging strike 3 on the slider down and away, and that will do it. So, unfortunately, can't add to it. Not a good showing in that half inning by the Redbirds. Unfortunately, we go to the top of the 8th inning. 5-4 St. Louis, getting late. This one is in the hands of the bullpen. I'm Paul D. If you're digging the stream, digging the call, leave a like. You want to come back, see more? Hit subscribe. Really helps. I do appreciate it. And you guys have been so kind in the chat. Very encouraging. On YouTube, if you've watched it enough, over enough years, there are all those creators, basically it's like, oh my God, you guys are so amazing. Could do without you. Like, yeah, thanks, guy. We get it, all right? We like your stuff. Keep the waterworks under control. But I really do appreciate it. This is not my main gig. But I do live here now, local, with my wife. I am a transplant local. She's a native. We met, we've been together for coming here 20 years. And we moved to the area for the first time about 3.5 years ago. We originally met out in Chicago. She and I are both alum of Loyola Chicago. And if you are a fan of college men's basketball, that's the same Loyola Chicago of now the late Sister Jean Schmidt fame. And that was back in September of 2008. Once we both finished up there, both graduated, we ended up moving back to where I was originally from, southwestern Connecticut, that New York City area. Remained there for a little over 11 years. But we always knew we'd end up back here, and the opportunity presented itself 3.5 years ago. And we moved, and we've been living here in St. Charles ever since. And it's quite the change, and a very positive one. All right, we are heading to the top of the 8th inning. 5-4 for Redbirds. Here's the first pitch from Romero. Just off the plate on a sinker is a ball. Count is 1-0. The righty Garcia, who's 0 for 3 tonight, is at the dish. It's a lefty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Sweeper down and away, just missed the zone. And the count is now 2 balls, no strikes. Well, thank you so much. You're always welcome back. Coming set is Romero. Here's the 2-0. Hit to the left side and through for a base hit. Just finds that hole between short and third. And the Pirates have a leadoff single and base runner here in the top of the 8th inning. Brewers fan. I gotta say, now here's the lefty, second baseman, Brandon Lowe. Lefty-lefty matchup. He's 2 for 3. Here's the pitch. Strike, sweeper, outside corner at the knees. The count is 0-1. I've been to Miller Park. I know they don't call it that anymore, but I will not call it American Family Field. It'll always be Miller Park. I've been there, I think, 3 times. I really like it a lot. Coming set is Romero. Here's the 0-1. Just low, a sinker out over the plate. And the count is 1-1. No, really cool ballpark. I like how you guys tailgate for a baseball game. You don't see that a lot. Certainly not in my neck of the woods where I grew up. That's for sure. Here's the 1-1. Sweeper just off the plate at the knees. Well outside, however. And the count is now 2-1. To Lowe. Runner on first, nobody out. Top of the 8th, 5-4 Cardinals. Coming set is the lefty Romero. He deals. Strike, sweeper, outside corner at the knees. And the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, hey, I'm glad you guys found it interesting. You know, I'll finish it off in a moment. Coming set is Romero, the 2-2. Check swing, did he go around? No, says Blue down the third baseline, and the count is full, 3-2. But the point is that when I met her, I was a Yankee fan, and she's a Cardinal fan. And since they, at that point in 2008, had only played each other twice in interleague play, and then before that, not since the 64 series, we were able to embrace each other's teams. Now here's the 3-2. Swinging strike, 3 on a slider up and in. Down goes Lowe hacking for the first out of the inning. That was what we would call a clutch strikeout there by JoJo Romero. So the Cardinals became my 1A team, and the Yankees for her became her 1A team. And thankfully, they've yet to play each other in the World Series. Neither of us look forward to that. Now, here's the first pitch. Strike, sweeper right down Broadway to the righty Triolo, who's 3 for 3 tonight. Counts 0-1. Runner on first, 1 out. Top of the 8th inning, it's an 0-1 count, 5-4 Redbirds. It's a lefty-righty matchup. Coming set at the Birds is Romero. Here's the pitch. Sinker down the way out of the zone. Count is 1-1. I understand. Yeah, everybody's after the Cubs right now. Coming set at the Birds is Romero. Here's the pitch. Changeup in the dirt, down and in. And that'll bring the count to 2 balls and 1 strike. If you're just joining us here, it's been back and forth action on Tuesday night Cardinal baseball down at Busch Stadium. Infield defense shaded largely towards left field. Coming sets Romero. He deals. Strike, sinker, outside corner, just whispers over the black, right at the knees. And the count is 2-2. Yeah, let's put it this way. I come from a certain era of Cardinal baseball where the Reds were the enemy. Here's the 2-2. Foul back behind the plate, now to play on a sweeper out and over the plate at 84 miles an hour. The count remains 2-2. Yeah, I remember 2010, 2011, Cardinals-Reds. That was some heated baseball, man. Those two teams did not like each other. Runner leads off first, 1 out. Here's the 2-2. Hit on down the right field line. Giving chase is Walker towards the stands, and it bounces. He did not have a chance. It just came well short. Well short. And the count remains 2-2. JoJo Romero, obviously he's been brought in to face the bevy of lefties. So far, he's been pretty effective. Save for that walk. No, excuse me, save for that single. Correction. Lefty-righty matchup. Coming set at the Birds is Romero. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Outside, a sinker floats over the lefty batter's box, and the count is full, 3-2. Oh, goodness. Your girlfriend's a Reds fan? Oh, boy. It's a full count. Coming set at the Birds is Romero. And here's the pitch. Chopped on out towards right in front of first. Giving it is Burleson. He goes and chases down the runner, and he tags him out right before the bag. Holy crap. That thing just is a little bleeder ground ball. Comes out slightly wide of first on the grass. Charging in is Burleson on the thing. There's nobody covering. There's no one possible. And then he has to go over and dive head first to get Trillo, basically trucking up towards first base, who's diving head first himself to place the tag and get the out. However, the runner does advance to second on the play, but it is indeed the second out of the inning. And right now the trainer is checking out Alec Burleson there, because that was about as footballish as a play as you're going to see on a baseball field that doesn't happen at home plate. Hopefully he's all right. He looks a little shaken up, but he's probably fine. So you're dating a Reds fan. Hey, I remember briefly dating a Red Sox fan. And I got to say, it was interesting. But unfortunately, I can't say more than that without being indiscreet. And this is a family-friendly channel. I don't swear that much. I generally don't drink on stream. I consider that to be poor. Certainly the drinking part for the most part. To be bad form if you're trying to call a baseball game. Oh, yeah, the Skyline Chili. You're not even the first person in the last week and a half that I've heard complain about Skyline Chili. And weird. Runner on second, 2 out here. Romero is on the plate. First pitch to the righty Rodriguez. Strike, sweeper outside corner about thigh high. The count is 0-1. Well, let's put it this way. If you're watching a ball game and you're on your own, absolutely. When you got to call a game, it gets weird. Here's the 0-1. Changeup down and in the dirt. Blocked by Pajes. Count is 1-1. The runner stays clear at second. Andy Rodriguez, the pinch hitter, 2 for 7 so far this year. Here's the 1-1. Strike, sinker on the outer third, thigh high. And the count is now 1 ball and 2 strikes to Andy Rodriguez. JoJo Romero 1 strike away from getting out of this top of the 8th. He comes set at the Birds. Lefty-righty matchup. Here's the pitch. Changeup in the dirt once again. Pajes keeping in front of him. And the count is now 2 balls and 2 strikes. And all I can say is drink responsibly. Drink responsibly. Romero looks in for the sign. He comes set. Here's the 2-2. Changeup down and in. Clear, misses the zone, and the count is full, 3-2. Actually, I've been calling Yankee games. I'll explain that. Let me answer that question better in a moment. Coming set is Romero at the Birds. Here's the 3-2. Hit down the third base side and out of play. And the count is 3-2. Actually, I have called Yankee games this year. Hopefully, when this half inning completes, I can get you a better explanation. Runner on second, 2 outs, a full count. Lefty-righty matchup, top of the 8th, 5-4 Redbirds. Romero deals. Hit on out to right center field. Going back is Victor Scott. He's right in front of the track, and he makes the catch for the third and final out of the inning. So Romero gets in and out of trouble, and we head to the bottom of the eighth inning. It is 5-4 Cardinals down at Busch Stadium. I'm Paul D. If you're digging the stream, you like what you've seen, hit a like. You want to see more? Subscribe, hit the notification bell. Appreciate the hell out of both of them. And you are watching, listening, and I'd like to think hopefully enjoying here on this lovely and muggy Tuesday night in the St. Louis area, Bombers Game Mic. So I'm sure you can tell by the name of the channel. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, Jack Buck and Harry Carey were, you know, the definition of legendary. Hey, I think everybody's kind of surprised. Everybody thought this team was at least a full year away from truly competing. But, you know, the name Bombers Game Mic is not a coincidence. You know, it's very Yankee coded. I actually started out by calling primarily Yankee games. And then out of nowhere, as something I wanted to do nice for my wife, I said, hey, one night I just said, I'm going to call the Cardinals. The Yankees have already played. I'm on the road in the East Coast. It's a 9:40 p.m. start time. And something that I thought would just be kind of small, you know, and just something that she could listen to falling asleep. And she listened to every game intently. But the Yankees had played that afternoon. What I didn't realize is how many fellow Cardinal fans would show up for it. And each and every time I've done a Cardinal game since, it's been even more fun than the game that preceded it. And, you know, the fact is that for the most part, since the Yankees, you know, home games are in the Eastern time zone, the Cardinals are in the Central time zone, they have a lot of overlapping game times. So you have to make a choice. And while I think I'm in the final process of deciding, this might turn into a Cardinals channel. Now, here's the first pitch to Burleson. Strike, slider, down and in, swung right over the top of that one. And the count is 0-1. Yeah, I'm actually in St. Charles. I live with my wife in St. Charles. Here's the pitch. Slider down and in, check swing. Did he go around? No, says Blue down the first baseline. And the count is 1-1. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that, you know, this has been very rewarding for me. I like it. Here's the 1-1. Hit on out to right center field. Going back in front of the track, looking up, and it is gone. A solo home run for Alec Burleson. Oh, that thing was absolutely manhandled right into the Cardinal bullpen. And now the Cardinals take a 6-4 lead. Oh, my goodness, my Guinness. Alec Burleson, my God, the way he assaulted that ball, he could be taken up on charges against that baseball. And it is now a 6-4 Cardinal lead here in the bottom of the eighth inning. Oh, yeah. Oh, Jack Buck. So, yeah. I mean, it's always, let's put it this way. I'm a transplant local. I'm not a native. My wife is. But I've always felt very at home here. It's a very accommodating place. It's my kind of place. I mean, there'll always be that part of me that, you know, walked around the streets of New York City growing up, you know, spending a lot of time there. Here's the first pitch of Walker. Fouled straight back on a four-seam fastball that was cheddar, 97 miles an hour, about bird high, and the count is 0-1. And I still travel back there often. I still actually have to travel a lot. But I love calling here home. Here's the 0-1. Hit on out to shortstop, fielding on a couple hops is Griffin. Here throws over to first in time for the first out of the inning. So whatever the case is in terms of Bombers Game Mic in the direction of this channel, because it is primarily a live stream play-by-play channel, right now, you know, I feel like the Redbirds are calling. Here's a pitch. Change up and away, 91 miles an hour to the lefty Gorman. The count's 1-0, who himself went deep earlier in this game. He's 1 for 3. It's a righty-lefty matchup with Bedoy on the mound. Here's the pitch. And just low and on the inside corner, and the count is now 2-0 to Gorman. Coming set is Bedoy. Here's the 2-0. Slider down and in, nowhere close to the zone. And that'll bring the count to 3-0. You have to imagine Gorman's going into statue mode at 3-0. Coming set is Bedoy. Here's a 3-0. Strike, four-seam fastball, 97 miles an hour, right down Broadway. And the count is 3-1. Do I think they're going to sign anybody else? Well, in the case of the season, somebody would have to be a value that gets released, really. Here's a 3-1. Ball 4, and it is an ABS challenge there. It was called a ball and potentially a walk, but we're going to see. The Pirates are using their final ABS challenge on that. And it missed low, so Gorman, he takes his base. It missed low by 1.3 inches. It wasn't even nearly as close as you would have thought it would be. So runner on first with one out here in the bottom of the 8th. 6-4 Cardinals. And now here comes the lefty Nate Church. It's a righty-lefty matchup. Gorman leads off first. Bedoy throws down to second, and he is out. Trying to steal there was Gorman. He left too early, and ultimately Bedoy noticed what the hell was happening, turned around, and then just ultimately got the tag in on there with the throw. And he is out. Weird base running mistakes and miscues tonight by the Cardinals. I mean, they're lucky they've had the long ball here right now because their base running has not distinguished them at all. Nobody on, 2 out. Here's the first pitch to Church. Four-seam fastball up and in, 99 miles an hour from Bedoy. Counts 1-0. It is a 1-0 count. Here's a pitch. Swinging strike. Swung right through that four-seam fastball down Broadway, 97 miles an hour. And the count's 1-1. Bedoy comes set at the letters. Here's the 1-1 to Church. Well upstairs, four-seam fastball, 98 miles an hour. But nowhere near the zone. The count is 2-1. Strikeout, single, and a ground out for Nate Church. Here's the 2-1. Swinging strike, swung right over the top of a slider down and in. And the count evens out to 2 balls and 2 strikes. If you're enjoying this game, you're enjoying the call, leave a like. Helps this channel a whole lot. He comes set. Here's the 2-2. Hit on down the third base side and out of play. That was a four-seam fastball up and in at 97 miles an hour. You know what? Toasted Rabs may be a national thing, but it began right here. Coming set is Bedoy. Here's a pitch. Hit on out to shallow right field. Right there is the first baseman who's playing deep and makes the catch for the third and final out of the inning. We go to the top of the 9th at Busch Stadium. It's 6-4 Cardinals. And we got ourselves a little bit of a pitching change. The righty O'Brien is coming in here in the save situation. And they're turning off all the lights, putting on the whole spectacle down at Busch Stadium right now. Hell, they even have a Steadicam operator running the distance out there with O'Brien out to the mound. I think that's probably been the most impressive part of the production of this game for Cardinals.tv so far today. Yeah, they're making it a whole spectacle. The big stadium lights are off. Then it's just the city lights. And then they bring him on in a big flash, just in case they want to cause a seizure. And we await the top of the 9th inning. And O'Brien, he is getting his warm-ups here. Heck, they're not even going to commercial. They're not going to be forcing more La Liga commercials down my throat. Aren't I lucky? And most importantly, aren't you lucky because of that? I like to think we collectively benefit. Riley O'Brien, 22 games, 22 innings pitched, a 2.45 ERA, a 0.91 whip, 10.23 strikeouts per 9, and a ground ball rate of 61.8%. I'll buy that for $1. I'll buy that for $1. And if you immediately get that reference, leave it in the chat. And you win brownie points with Paul. Brownie points with Paul. All right. Here we go. Top of the 9th inning. 6-4 Redbirds over the Pirates. Last licks for the Bird tonight. It's a righty-righty matchup. Coming set is O'Brien. Here's a pitch. Strike, sinker, inside corner at the knees to the righty Gonzalez. And the count is 0-1. He comes set. Here's the 0-1. Strike, sinker on the outer third above the knees, and the count is now 0-2. Riley O'Brien has Gonzalez in the hole. He looks in for the sign. He comes set at the belt. Here's the 0-2. Sweeper down and away, floated over the lefty batter's box. Gonzalez, not even remotely tempted, is the third baseman for the Berg tonight. 1 ball and 2 strikes. O'Brien comes set at the belt. Here's the pitch. Hit on out to right field, giving chase towards the line is Walker, and it slices foul. Luckily foul. Otherwise, that thing would have been trouble like no one's business. And the count remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. Nobody on, nobody out. Top of the 9th, 6-4 Redbirds. It's a 1-2 count to the righty Gonzalez. O'Brien, he looks in the sign from Pajes. He comes set at the belt. Here's the 1-2. Sweeper inside, rolls away from Pajes and over to the Pirates on deck circle. And that'll even out the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. He steps out of the box. Gonzalez does, adjusts his belt, kicks around some dirt. Just getting himself centered against the right-hander who throws some easy gas. Coming set at the belt is O'Brien, the 2-2 pitch. Hit on out there to shallow left field, and it is over the top of the shortstop's head and into left field for a leadoff single here in the top of the 9th inning. The tension in the building rises. And it looks like that was a sinker that really failed to properly sink. It was in on the hands. It was about right underneath the belt. And he did with it all that he could. Now here's Connor Griffin, the shortstop. Runner on first, nobody out. Righty-righty matchup. Coming set is O'Brien. Here's the first pitch to Griffin. Hit down the first base side and out of play on a sinker. Out over the plate at 98 miles an hour. Count is 0-1. High 90 sinker, man. That is some tough stuff. Ooh. And, throwing that sinker, a double play is very much what O'Brien has in mind. Runner leads off first. Comes set, it's O'Brien. Here's the pitch. Inside, and it looks like it got a piece of Connor Griffin there, and he'll go take his base. Now runners on first and second and nobody out here in the top of the 9th. And let's see here. Where exactly did it get Connor Griffin? It looks like it got him on a little bit of his hand. Maybe his right hand? They're actually going to review the play to see if it actually hit him. So let's find out what exactly. The play is under review to see if it actually hit him. We shall see. We shall see. Play under review. So it's gone to... I mean, it's hard to say. It looks like there might have been a slight ricochet there, but let me take a look on the replay. You know, it might have actually hit the barrel of the bat. I think there's a good chance that it did. Let's find out. The play is still under review. And Connor Griffin is just standing there with his bat, waiting to see the result. But I think there's a decent chance it got the nub of the bat. The MLB Replay Operations Center. It looks like friggin' NASA. They're probably probably better funded than NASA. And we keep seeing the replay here. I think it got a piece of the nub at the bottom of the bat, but we're going to find out real fast. And we wait, and the tension rises in the building, and it rises in the chat. It rises here at Bombers Game Mike. Did it get a piece of the nub of the bat? What does the MLB Replay Operations Center have to say about that? We'll find out momentarily, folks. Because if it did get a piece of the bat. Okay, let's see here. Yep. It did not, according to the MLB Replay Operations Center, it got Griffin, not the bat. Runners on first and second, nobody out, top of the ninth inning. And Ollie Marmol is definitely not impressed. And who could blame him? But that's baseball, Susan. Now here's the lefty O'Brien. He's 1 for 4 tonight. Righty-lefty matchup. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike on a swinker on the outside corner. Swung right underneath that one, did Reynolds. And the count is 0-1. Reynolds steps back on in. The infield shaded over towards right. Here's the 0-1. Check swing. Did he go around? Yes, says Blue down the third baseline. And the count is now no balls and 2 strikes. Unfortunately, I would love that, but I'm not set up for Super Chats, man. All I can say is that, first off, thank you so much. And when eventually, hopefully it is, I'll have it set up so you guys could do that if you wanted to. But spend it on someone you care about and keep me in mind. That's all I ask. Here's the 0-2. Slider down and in to the lefty Reynolds. The count is 1-2. Oh, boy. Shirtless at home. Hey, that's a good way to be at home, man. You kidding? Coming set is O'Brien. Here's the 1-2. In the dirt, bounces and hits Reynolds, and the bases are now loaded. Nobody out in the top of the ninth inning. Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy. This has been a debacle. Yeah, that thing, it looked like it was some kind of changeup, perhaps. It bounces in front of the plate, jumps up, skips, and hits Reynolds basically on like the right shin. And the pitching coach is out to have a little chat there with Riley O'Brien. Help tether him and, hopefully pull him back into earth. Hopefully it works. The bases are loaded, nobody out, top of the ninth. And I believe this is the DH, Marcell Ozuna. The pond is full of ducks, folks. Yep, Ozuna, the cleanup hitter. Coming set is O'Brien. Now here's the first pitch. And he fouled it off his foot there, rather off the foot of Pages. Count is 0-1. More than anything right now, and in his career, Marcell Ozuna, he's hitting 353 with 7 grand slams and 146 ribeyes. Coming set is O'Brien. Here's the 0-1. And it is hit down to third base. Picked up by the shortstop. He throws the second one on to first. A double play. But the run does score. And that will make it a 6-5 Cardinal lead. And the runner is now, the tying run is still at third. So a big break there and a great play, turning 2 on that one. The relay from second to first just got Ozuna. Now coming set is O'Brien to the lefty O'Neill Cruz. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike on a sweeper down and away, and the count is 0-1. And the tension rises in the building further. You could cut through the air with a butter knife, and not just because it's really muggy in St. Louis tonight. Coming set is O'Brien. Here's the pitch. Fouled off the left foot of Pages on the sinker away at 100 miles an hour, and that'll bring the count to 0-2. Pages, it hit the inside foot of Pages on his left leg. So he's trying to walk it off here at the moment. I mean, he is a professional catcher, and you can see it on his face even through the mask. No fun. The tying run leads off third. Infield defense shaded towards right. Righty-lefty matchup. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Sweeper down and away. Holds off, it does O'Neill Cruz. And the count is now 1-2 strikes. The lefty Cruz gets back into the box. Connor Griffin 90 feet away, representing the tying run for Pittsburgh. Coming set at the belt is O'Brien. Here's the 1-2. Sweeper down and away out of the zone. Holding off there is O'Neill Cruz, and the count evens out at 2-2. Everybody who remains at Busch Stadium is on their feet. Coming set is O'Brien. He deals. Sweeper down and away out of the zone. Third pitch in a row to the exact same location. And the count is now full 3-2. Now this suggests one of two things to me. One, he doesn't want to give in to O'Neill Cruz. And two, if he's going to walk him, he's going to do it on his own terms. Coming set is O'Brien, the 3-2. Ball 4 on the sweeper, down and in. So 4 straight there. Well, not 4 straight there at all. Who am I kidding? He got to a full count. He got ahead 0-2, and then never threw a strike after that. So runner on first and third, 2 out. The tying run for the Pirates is 90 feet away. And the Cubs have lost. Let's see what happens here. Folks. Runners on first and third, 2 out, 6-5 Cardinals, top of the ninth, tying run, 90 feet away. O'Brien comes set to the lefty Horowitz, who's pitch hitting. Now here's the pitch. Hit on down to left field and in for a base hit. And the runner from third will score, and it is a tie game here in the top of the ninth inning. And Pittsburgh now has runners on first and second with 2 out. Here in the top of the ninth, O'Brien has blown the save. He has blown the save. On that first pitch, it looked like it was a sinker up out in the outer third, and he just served it out there in left field to Nate Church. Now here's the first pitch to Lowe. hit on out there to left field, right at the track. He's there on the track. He makes the catch for the third and final out of the inning. But the damage is done. The game is tied at 6. We go to the bottom of the 9th out at Busch Stadium. Now it is the offense's turn to try and nail this game down. And God, do not go to extra innings. Even though, admittedly, baseball of the 4 major sports is the only sport where there is a structural built into the rules of the game home field advantage, which is to say that when they get the lead in extras, they don't have to protect it. The away team does. But there's that friggin' ghost runner rule, which I absolutely despise. So Busch League. Yeah, I actually tend to agree. It's one of those things where you got good stuff, attack the zone, man. Trust your stuff. But here we are. Yeah. Yeah, this is one of those situations where if you got some booze on you, it's probably not a bad idea. Unless you have work in the morning. And we await the bottom of the 9th. Leading off is going to be Segazy. And, of course, you remember he got picked off between third and home. Got caught up in a pickle for really running the Cardinals out of another run in that situation. So he's not exactly in my good books at the moment. 6-12-0 Pirates, 6-7-2 Cardinals. So due up. Well, first off, we got a pitching change. Gregory Soto, 22 games, 22 and a third innings pitched, a 2.42 ERA, a 0.85 WHIP, 10.48 strikeouts per 9. Segazy followed by Pages and Victor Scott the second. It's a lefty-righty matchup. The lefty Soto is on the mound to the righty Segazy. Here's the pitch. Out and away, four-seam fastball nowhere near the zone at 96 miles an hour. And the count is 1 ball and no strikes. Coming set is the lefty Soto. Here's the 1-0. Strike, four-seam fastball right down Broadway, 97 miles an hour, and the count is 1-1. We are all tied at 6 at Busch Stadium here tonight. Coming set is Soto at the belt. And he deals. Swinging strike, hacked right through that four-seam fastball on the inside corner at the knees. And the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. This is the bottom of the Redbird order here tonight. Soto looks in, comes set at the belt. The pitch. Up and away, four-seam fastball, 97 miles an hour, nowhere near the zone. And that'll bring the count even to 2-2. Yeah, Newt's got to get back here sometime. Thomas Segazy, he walked earlier. Time is granted by the home plate umpire at the behest of Segazy as he digs back into the box. Soto sits about even on the rubber. He comes set from the stretch. Now here's the 2-2. Swinging strike 3 on the slider, down and in, swung right over the top of it for the first out of the inning. So Soto comes in here and makes Segazy look like a rookie baller on that one. 1 out. Yeah, Newt can't come back soon enough. Now here is the right-handed hitting Pages. He's 1 for 2 tonight. Coming set is Soto. Here's the pitch. Hit on down the first baseline. Given chase is the right fielder, and it goes about a dozen rows deep. Count is 0-1. Coming set is Soto at the belt. And he deals. Up and away, four-seam fastball, 97 miles per hour, nowhere near the zone. And the count is 1-1. Ivan Herrera is in the hole. No. He's not even in the hole yet. Here's the pitch. Slider, strike. Inside corner just above the knees. Count is 1-2. So Ivan Herrera is the DH tonight. Pages is catching. So they're kind of, Ali Marmol, he likes trading them off pretty consistently. Pages, he's 1 for 2 tonight. It's a 1-2 count. Coming set is Soto. Here's the pitch. Swinging strike 3 on the sweeper, down and in. Swung right over the top of that one for the second out of the inning. So, right now, Ivan Herrera is in the 2 hole, and Pages was the 8 hitter. So now, with Victor Scott up, you have J.J. Wetherell on deck and Herrera in the hole. Here's the pitch. Check swing. Did he go around? Yes, says Blue down the third base line. And the count is no balls and 1 strike. 0 for 2 tonight, Victor Scott. Couple of ground outs. It's a lefty-lefty matchup. Coming set is Soto. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Chopped and foul off his foot on a sinker down and in. And the count is now no balls and 2 strikes. So this game is presently 1 strike away from going to extra innings. George Soriano, the right-hander, he's getting hot down in the Cardinal pen. Coming set is Soto in the lefty-lefty matchup. Here's the 0-2. Sweeper just off the plate, about knee-high, but well out of the zone. The count is 1 ball and 2 strikes. At the belt is Soto. He looks in for the sign. He deals. Called strike 3 on that one there. And it looks like Victor Scott, did he call for an ABS? Yes, he did. The Cardinals do have 1 remaining. They might as well use it here. And call is upheld. Strike 3. Well, we head to the top of the 10th inning, and that means ghost runner at second. You know the rules, folks. Each team, every half inning that extra innings goes on, it always starts with the ghost runner down at second. Remember, time of game. Am I right? Am I right, folks? We're going to extras. All tied at 6. What can I say? All tied at 6. Now, of course, the challenge here being that as a home team, the visitors coming up in there batting at the top of the inning, it is they don't even need to record a hit, of course, to get a run home and come ahead in the game. It's just that kind of ABC baseball. I really wish it meant overtime. I really wish I was clocking in for this one, but no. No. This is free baseball, folks. This one's free baseball. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. I don't consider the Ghost Runner to be of major league competition quality in terms of rules. I just don't. I really consider it to be a Bush League thing or like a Little League thing, seriously. It's like coach pitch type stuff. We're back for the top of the 10th, all tied at 6. Now here comes George Soriano. 19 2/3 innings pitched, a 3.66 ERA, a 1.27 WHIP. 7.32 Ks per 9, and a 49.1% ground ball rate. He will face the lefty Mangum. Coming set is Soriano. Here's the pitch. Hit up behind the plate and out of play. And the count is 0-1. I certainly have never said anything like that. And yeah, I mean, in the chat, don't spam Pirates win, Cardinals win, unless it actually happens. That's just poor form. Here's the 0-1. Swinging strike and a changeup down and away, 89 miles an hour. Swung right over the top of that one from Soriano. And the count is now 0-2. So we know Soriano has good stuff. We've also saw him give up that huge bombola back on Saturday. But if you're a good reliever and you're major league quality, you have to have a short memory. Coming set is Soriano. Now here's the 0-2. Swinging strike 3. Down goes Magnum for the first out of the inning. So Soriano comes right in here, attacks the zone, gets some swings and misses. Where was this in the top of the ninth? Soriano, he comes set. Ghost runner still down at second by way of low. Here's the pitch. Out and away, four-seam fastball, nowhere near the zone, 96 miles an hour. The count's 1-0. It is a righty-lefty matchup with the lefty Endy Rodriguez in the box. Here's the pitch. Strike, changeup outside corner, thigh high, and the count is 1-1 strike. Soriano, he looks in for the sign. He comes set at the belt. And here's the 1-1. Swinging strike on a changeup down and in. Swung right over the top of that one, did the lefty Rodriguez. And the count is now 1-2 strikes. Soriano looks in for the sign. He comes set at the belt. Here's the 1-2. Fly ball out to medium right field. Right there is Walker. He's underneath it. He makes the catch. He throws on in, and Lowe will stay right there at second. And that'll be the second out of the inning. Well, yeah, you know, the interesting thing is, like, for example, there's no good reason that you shouldn't be able, depending on who's up, to put down a decent bunt and then get a guy in on a fly ball. Now, here's the third baseman, Nick Gonzalez. Righty-righty matchup. Here's a pitch. Strike, four-seam fastball inside corner at the knees, and the count is 0-1. Lowe, the ghost runner, he's out at second. Gonzalez, the right-hander, he's 1 for 4. Here's the pitch. Outside, a slider. Nowhere near the zone. Floats over the lefty batter's box. And the count is 1-1. Runner leads off second. Coming set is Soriano. And here's the 1-1. Just missed low on the outside corner with the changeup. And that'll bring the count to 2-1 strike. Soriano comes set. And he deals. Foul back behind the plate and out of play on a four-seam fastball, 96 miles per hour up and away. Foul is just straight back. And the count is 2-2. Beautiful stuff there. It is a 2-2 count. Runner at second. 2 out here in the top of the 10th. Here's the pitch. Hit to the left side. And right there is the third baseman. He throws to first in time. And Alec Burleson picks the throw up on a hop for the third and final out of the inning. So some really excellent defense there. One by Gorman to go well wide to get it. And then Burleson to get that throw to first on a hop to secure it. We head to the bottom of the 10th inning, all tied at 6 at Busch Stadium. I'm Paul D. I'd like to thank you all so much for joining me here now in extra innings. And if you like what you see, you're enjoying the game, you're enjoying the call, please leave a like. Really helps with the algorithm and with a small channel like this, to be sure. And it really, very encouraging to me, certainly. And if you want to see more of this coming forward, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Usually on game days where I'm calling the game, I don't call every game, but I call a lot of them. I'll usually put up a community post that says, what's happening and when. And usually I'll schedule the stream so you can see it publicly on the channel. So it's just there and you know when things are going to happen. So I'm Paul D, and this is Bombers Game Mike. We go to the bottom of the 10th inning. Well, it is nice to meet you too. Reese K 9140, cheers. Really, it has really just been a pleasure just making so many of you guys' acquaintance. Oh, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You really, apparently, I was on the road for like 11 or 12 days. I only got back Sunday morning. And my wife I could tell you had been out in the sun. I was walking my dad's dog. Part of that visit was visiting my dad. And apparently this blue really makes that come out. Now here's Mason Montgomery, the left-hander. 18 games, 18 innings pitched, 3 ERA, a 1.22 whip, 13 Ks per 9, and a ground ball rate of 47.6%. Victor Scott II is the ghost runner down at second. He represents the winning run for the Cardinals. It is a lefty-lefty matchup to J.J. Witherholt. Here's the first pitch. Strike, curveball outside corner, right above the knees. The count is 0-1 to J.J. Really, let's put it this way. To win this game, the Cardinals don't even need to get a hit. They simply need to execute smart baseball. Now, here's the 0-1 pitch. Hit on to the right side and over the second baseman's head for a base hit. And right there will Victor Scott II stay on the play. He'll move from second to third. And now the Cardinals, with that lead-off single, it was just hit too hard, and it was fielded too shallow in the outfield, especially with an online throw. Victor Scott would have been thrown out by a mile had he tried to come around third and score. But that being said, now a decent fly ball will win the game. Now here's Ivan Herrera. You guys were calling for him. Now here's the pitch. Foul behind the plate and out of play on a sinker in the hands to the righty Herrera. It's a lefty-righty matchup, and the count is now 0-1. Columbia, Missouri in the house. Thanking me. Thank you so much for coming here. The infield defense is in. They want to cut down any play at home. Now here's the 0-1. Swinging strike on a four-seam fastball upstairs over the plate about bird high, and the count is now 0-2. Oh, now you're out in Colorado Springs. Cheers. Time is granted by the home plate umpire at the behest of the catcher, so we wait a little longer. Herrera, he's actually 0 for 4 tonight, so he's quite due by baseball standards. Comes sets Montgomery. Here's the pitch. Hit on out to left field, and that'll do it. But he looks up, and it is gone. A winning 3-run home run by Ivan Herrera. And the Cardinals win it 9-6 in the bottom of the 10th inning. Oh, ho, ho. That is beautiful stuff. He rounds third, and Herrera is greeted at the plate by everybody in the dugout. And it is a final 9-6 St. Louis in 10. And now it is time for the victory tune. Oh, that was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful stuff there on the part of Ivan Herrera. He didn't just get the ground ball he needed. He didn't just get the deep fly ball he needed. He went deep in epic fashion. Oh my goodness. What a play. What an ending. 9-6 is the final down on the western banks of the mighty Mississippi River. One more time for the victory song for the walk-off 3-run jack in 10. Oh, soak it in, folks. Soak it in. That thing was an absolute bombola. Insult to injury right into the Pirates bullpen. Ho ho! We are all feeling that. We are all feeling that. That thing was on a one-way trip to Iowa. Well, I'd like to thank you all so much here for joining Bombers Game Mike. This has been an absolutely thrilling conclusion to this Tuesday night edition of Redbirds baseball, and for that matter, Bombers Game Mike. And I'd like to thank you all so much for joining me. It's been a hell of a win. A hell of a win. So what can I tell you? What can I tell you is that tomorrow night, they're back out for Game 2 of this series. It's once again a 6:45 p.m. Central start time. Here on Game Mike, we usually schedule for 6:35, usually start closer to 6:40. I don't usually do a big pre-game show unless there's something really important to do, like the playoffs or some really big regular season game. And I usually don't do a huge post-game unless it's a really important game, like the postseason or a really important regular season game. But that being said, I'll be back here tomorrow night on Bombers Game Mike to call Redbirds Pirates. So 9-6 is the final down at Busch Stadium. We got ourselves a winner. We got ourselves a winner. 9-6 is your final. I'm Paul D, and this has been a special Redbirds edition of Bombers Game Mike. Thank you all so much for joining me here. All the kind words, all the support. You know, be sure to leave the like. If not for me, then for this great Redbirds win and extra. If you want more, just subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. And that's enough of my self-promotion for now. So 9-6 is the final on the walk-off 3-run job in the bottom of the 10th by Ivan Herrera. I'm Paul D. Bombers Game Mike, over and out.